Hey kids, do you like wrestling? Well, we like wrestling too. We are Shake Them Ropes here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Myself and Chris Novembrino kind of doing a lazy river of wrestling criticism, going through the news and whatever happened in stateside television wrestling. And also, you know what? Sometimes we just like to watch old stuff and talk about that too. Love for you to give us a listen. If you haven't already, we are Shake Them Ropes here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
What do you guys want to talk about?
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
The lines are blurred between the living and the dead.
And I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? And I just watched a wrestling show ever in my life. I don't want the lines blurred between the living and the dead, Rich. I just want to watch guys wrestle.
Rich Crage.
He's wearing it.
He's wearing it. Shirt. It's a button-up shirt. It's blue and it's purple, and there are purple drafts all over his fucking shirt. Apologize to me right now, everybody.
Rich, take that dub.
And we are live on the Flagship Podcast. I am Rich. He is Joe. Joe, what's happening? How are you?
We are live.
We are indeed live. Live as live can be.
All right.
Here on the Flagship Podcast. FlagshipPatreon.com for the live listeners, and the rest of you freeloaders listening however you're listening with your podcast app of choice. Wherever podcasts are listened to. I don't know what the there's like a term that everybody uses now. I don't know which one it is. It's where pods are listened to, or where, I don't know. Some dopey app that you use. That's hopefully not Apple Podcasts, even though that's still, I believe, is our leader that everybody listens to on Apple Podcasts. But that's fine.
It's wherever you get your podcasts.
Wherever you get your is that the one that people use? Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you get your podcasts, Joe? Isn't it Google Chrome and then you right click and hit download?
For many years, that's how I did it. I didn't
you've
use any
upgraded?
of these dopey apps.
You've upgraded?
Well, I do use Spotify now.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah. I enjoy the interface. So,
that's progress. Yeah,
I'm sure everyone's thrilled to hear that. I'm sure everyone is. Oh, Joe's using Spotify. Oh, that's great.
But again, though, I think that is I kind of think that is a big story, because for astute, longtime Flagship listeners would know that, Joe, when you would listen to a podcast, you'd get mad that like a website wouldn't have a good, like, you would go, if you wanted to listen to Wrestling Observer Radio, you would go to f4wonline.com, click over, go to Observer Radio, and then click play on like the Chrome or I think you were using Google Chrome most of the time, and you'd listen on you didn't have an app. You didn't have Overcast or Downcast or Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Google Podcasts or Stitcher or iHeartRadio, none of that shit. No, you had the web browser, and you would go to the podcast you wanted to listen to, walk over, click on over, click play, and then, sit back on the couch and let it play through the laptop.
Hey, sounds pretty simple to me.
That's pretty simple, yeah.
A tried and true method. In fact, the example you just used, I still listen to Wrestling Observer Radio through the Figure 4
Well, that's
website.
true, because you can't use Spotify. You got to use I use Downcast, I think, for the subscription stuff like that. But yeah, not easy. So there you go. You are still probably better off just cracking the knuckles and going to the website and click and play there.
Yeah. No muss, no fuss, they call that, Rich.
Absolutely.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Very easy. I do like to simplify my life.
You do.
So
you do.
What's the problem with just, Googling the podcast you want to listen to, clicking the link, and then slap and play on the browser? What's the problem?
You're fine. Yeah. So I think I've told this story before, where one time I went over to my parents' house and my dad was trying to look up something, and I said, we'll just Google it. And he went to Yahoo and then typed in Google, and then it brought him to Google, and then he clicked Google, and I'm like, all right, hold on a minute. He's gotten much more. He's more technically savvy now, and now he sends me emojis all the time. Someone taught him emojis, and I don't know who, I don't know how, or I don't know why, but that man loves emojis. But yeah, after that, I was like, time out. What are we doing here? Let's just skip a step here and just go to Google. Just type in Google. Google.com works, instead of, because like Yahoo was his homepage or whatever. So he was like, oh, well, certainly I must begin here. My journey begins at Yahoo. And I was like, all right, well, it doesn't have to.
That's what he knows.
It doesn't have to. You can skip a step here. But I guess I do appreciate the idea that, like, well, I've opened my web browser and now my journey begins. Yahoo is the beginning of it, and now I must go from here.
It's like when a squirrel is running across the street and it senses danger. No matter how far across the street it is, it will turn around and go back to where it started because that's the last safe place it knew. Right. That's why squirrels always get run over. So even if they're 90% across the street, if something spooks them, they're not going to keep going. They're going to turn around and go back to the other side. And that's why 18-wheelers run them over all the time. That's like your dad. He's just like, no, I start at Yahoo. Yahoo is where it begins. Right. I understand it and I respect it. It actually makes a lot of sense. But him using emojis, that's bad. That's bad news. That you got to nip in the bud.
It's too late. No, it's too far gone. It's way too far gone. I don't know how it happened. I don't know how it just happened. One day, he just said, like, happy birthday with like 17 cakes. And I'm like, what? Who taught you this? How did you learn this? And then it's been off the rails ever since then. So.
I think I'm in the sweet spot of the age of people who refuse to use emojis because all of like our parents are using emojis now, and it like
right because that's what the kids are doing, and that's what you're supposed to do or whatever. So I get it. I get why they do it, or maybe they find it cheerful or playful or whatever. And I'm of the age where
and all younger people, right, like millennials and below, they're all using emojis, right? But it's like the Gen Xers who aren't touching them. We're the only ones that are like, we're not doing that shit. Like I'm not putting a little heart at the end of my message. Fuck you. Like that's the one little slice, the one little sweet spot of age group that will not conform to this. So, unfortunately, I can only imagine the kind of emojis you're getting from your old man.
They're numerous.
Ones you didn't know existed.
Yeah.
Ones you probably didn't know existed.
What did he send me the other day? There was something, and I was like, what is this? I've never even seen it. It was like I'm trying to remember. I'll look back at my messages and try to figure out which one it was. But it blew my mind. I'm like, how did he even find this? Like, I get the birthday cake because sometimes, like on my thing, if I sell somebody happy birthday, it'll fill it out in like the bottom line of my, the thing where it's sort of recommending the next word or whatever. I forget what that's called. Would show me like a cake and a birthday candle or whatever, and I'm like, oh, okay. So he's just clicking those or whatever. No, this guy was like pulling these out of his ass. I don't know where the hell he was getting these from, but yeah, very bizarre.
You get weird, like a guy with a sword for some reason, or like sometimes I'll get one from my dad and I'll be like, the flag of Angola. What does this even mean? Like I don't even.
Right.
It's like
British Rhodesia. Is that even a country anymore? How did you find this?
I'm like trying to figure out what it is. Like, why did he send that to me at the end of this message? How's the weather today in College Station? It's the flag of Angola. I don't understand. And neither does he probably. But yeah, no, I'm still a holdout. I'm still not an emoji guy.
You'll drop an eggplant. You'll drop an eggplant every so often though.
I just do my sexual emojis to my wife. That's it. I do
volcano.
I do
you got the volcano, the eggplant.
It's the same three every time. It's the eggplant. Is it the apricot or the peach? What's the ass?
The peach. It's the peach. The peach.
Is the eggplant, the peach, and then the exploding volcano. She gets that randomly during the course of her day. And it fires her up. She gets excited. She's like, hell yeah. That's good news for me when I get home, But those are the only three I'll use. I don't, I don't touch the other ones. What the hell's the point? I could say what I need to say with words.
There you go. We're going to say a lot of words here over the next 3 hours here on the Flagship podcast. A lot that we're getting to. Unfortunately, the no-dope chat room filling us up with random emojis that I guess we started this. But yeah, we are going to talk about a lot of stuff here on this week's show. We're going to get to the New Japan World Tag League Finals. Bishamon defeating Guerrilla's Destiny to move on to face them again at Wrestle Kingdom. We'll talk about that. We have the Tokyo Sports Awards, the big-time awards in Japan, the big-time wrestling awards. We'll break down all the winners and everybody who got votes in that as well. AEW Collision, I want to do a little check-in on AEW Collision. We don't talk about a whole lot of Collision on this show, really at all. Like, you and I barely talk Collision because it's on Saturday, and I don't know when you watch Collision most times. I watch it on like Sunday mornings a lot. I forget when you said you tend to watch it. I don't know if you're a Saturday night or later in Saturday night or whatever, but it never works out where we're here together on this show on a Thursday talking about Collision. So I want to kind of change that a little bit because I think it's been worth it the last couple of weeks. So we'll touch on that. ROH Final Battle coming up this weekend, this Friday, right? Tomorrow, actually, as of this recording, ROH Final Battle coming your way exclusively on Honor Club, not traditional pay-per-view, no Fight/Triller Plus TV, aka the rebranded Fight. No, it is on Honor Club. So if you want to watch ROH Final Battle, you got to be on Honor Club. So we'll touch on that show, preview it as best as we can. We are going to review NXT Deadline with the I replaced by a 1. The NXT Premium Live event from last weekend, and oh boy, was it a humdinger, Joe! I cannot wait to talk about NXT Deadline with the 1, with a 1 instead of an I in Deadline. Also, we have WWE and MLW that settled their lawsuit before we got to Discovery, so we'll go about a little bit of details on that. Although it's kind of done, there's not much more to talk about it, but we'll get to at least what the proceedings were and how that all kind of happened, and if we get time, MLW and Impact Wrestling. As well. So it should be a very, very loaded show here. Lots to talk about. But let's start with the world of WWE and some news that came out this week that got some people a little uneasy about certain relationships in the wrestling business. And that is the word that WWE and Warner Brothers Discovery were negotiating, meeting about a potential TV deal for Raw. PW Insider reported this, the first kind of big boy. You had a little bit of like, oh, things are happening, and then eyeballs and the usual kind of wrestling media. I'm hearing things. Yes, I'm hearing things that other people are hearing type of thing that we got for a while. And then finally, Mike Johnson of PW Insider just said, here's the thing. So they reported that WWE has been negotiating with Warner Bros. Discovery about a TV deal for Raw, highlighted by a meeting that they had on Monday. Mark Shapiro, Nick Khan, and Triple H met with WBD Chief Revenue and Strategy Officer Bruce. I just wrote Bruce here. I believe it's Bruce Campbell. I don't know why I left out his name in our run sheet, so it just says Bruce. It's not his officer.
Everybody knows Bruce.
But let's be honest. Everybody calls Bruce, right?
Yeah.
Like when he walks into that office and they go, "Hi, Mr. Campbell," he goes, call me Bruce. You know what I mean? Like, he says, call me Bruce.
No doubt about it.
Because Bruce is such a name. You know what I mean? Like the energy that Bruce carries, that's such a better name than Mr. Campbell. Mr. Campbell doesn't. You don't walk into a room with a big dick if your name is Mr. Campbell, but if your name is Bruce, and you're like, oh, Bruce is coming.
Strong name.
Oh, is Bruce coming to the meeting? Yeah. Oh shit. All right. We better get our shit ready. You know what I mean? And then
Bruce is a strong name, and he's always 52.
Yeah.
And the other thing about Bruce is when he texts you, he will send you the flag of Angola and a porcupine at the end of the text for no good reason at all. But that's what Bruce does.
You got to respect the Bruce. Yeah, you got to respect the Bruce. But I believe his name is Bruce Campbell. And they met with him for several hours. Of course, WBD is the home of AEW. They are also in ongoing negotiations with the NBA. AEW is currently signed with them through the end of 2024. Dave Meltzer then followed up after he did his initial kind of vague tweet that got everybody all up in the worried about this and crazy and going to wild degrees. But he kind of reiterated a lot of what people were sort of worried about, or at least not necessarily worried about, but mostly kind of talking about, is that the discussions between WWE and Warner Brothers Discovery were reinvigorated by CM Punk's return to the company. Dave said, exactly, quote, opened up what may have been a shut door. And that the big house show to look at here is December 30th, where they're doing that CM Punk Dom Mysterio match in Los Angeles. That's supposed to be attended by all potential future TV partners, including Warner Brothers Discovery. So the Punk thing is the Punk return. We know that One Bill Phil, David Zaslav, WBD, they are big fans of Punk. Collision is largely been created or was created because of CM Punk. So yeah, it's not surprising that him going to WWE made them say, oh, hold on a minute, maybe we can talk about a TV deal. But what do you make of all this? Is this a big story, a non-story? Is it a story that is kind of TBD? Where do you land on this WBD, WWE discussions, rumors, whatever you want to call it?
Well, first of all, Meltzer was on top of this weeks ago. He was the one who first reported that Nick Khan had met with WBD weeks ago, and it went nowhere. And it just, so I don't know why everyone has forgotten about that. Unless I imagined it or it was in a dream or something. I recall Dave saying that was something that happened. And then there was the whole mess that you described this week. And it looks like Meltzer and Mike Johnson are the ones that are really on top of this. And, I think that the wrestling media in general, has once again embarrassed themselves this week, and that includes Dave, because even though he's gotten the story right, and he added some context to it. A few days later, the vague tweet was completely out of line. We just have to stop with that stuff. But, I thought we all learned our lesson with the vague tweeting, with the whole WWE's being sold to Saudi Arabia bullshit that basically was just the product of a bunch of nerds in their group chat getting out of hand and then running to Twitter with their eyeball emojis and it all turned out to be a
big
bunch of
things
shit.
Happening. Whoa, if what I heard is true. And it's just like, okay. And then
it's totally irresponsible nonsense.
Yeah.
And, and that worked everybody up, and it ended up being nonsense. It's just total bullshit. Like, no truth to it whatsoever. And I thought we all learned our lesson. And I think some people did learn their lesson from that. And then this week, it's a vague tweet that kicks it all off again, where I don't think Dave is, meant to cause that kind of dust up. But the fact is, if you're somebody like a Dave Meltzer, who's been a trusted source for decades, you either have to spill it in the tweet, what you're talking about, or you have to not tweet.
Right. I have the exact words, by the way, if you want. He said, quote, things are changing greatly. Let's just say things changed greatly with Raw negotiations from a few weeks ago, and Punk is a huge part of the selling point. Now, like you said, though, if you follow what Dave's actually been reporting and what he said, and that's exact. I read it the exact way that everybody else did, or everybody that knew Dave and has followed stuff, is that he's saying, let's say things changed greatly with Raw negotiations from a few weeks ago, and Punk is a huge part of the selling point. Now, again, like, I guess that's me kind of going and jumping to conclusions and just kind of saying, oh, he means WBD, because we know that Punk and WBD have had a decent relationship. They obviously like him, and things changed greatly with Raw negotiations from a few weeks ago, because a few weeks ago he reported that they had talked with WBD and it was kind of an open and shut case, and okay, we're not that interested or whatever. So that's how I infer, but I guess I get it, how that is very vague, and the problem is it got sent to, as we say with Twitter, it got sent to a bunch of people who have no fucking idea what's going on, don't follow Dave, don't follow anything, and then just got extrapolated 1,000 times over by people going eyeball emoji, oh my god, and then got into some crazy, okay, WBD is going, Raw is going to WBD, and AEW is canceled and dead, and like it kind of snowballed from there, as things do often.
I got to tell you, when you read it back, it's not as bad as I thought it was, because what you're saying is correct. If you've been following Dave's reporting all along, you kind of knew what he was talking about. The problem, as you also noted, and therein lies the problem with Twitter as an app. If you haven't been following Dave's reporting all along, it does come off a little vague and a little, I know something you don't know. Which, I've complained that that's the problem with Twitter for a long time, where you may think that you're speaking to your audience and people who understand your tone, your language, your way of communicating, and are having the same conversation as you. But the problem with Twitter is it then reaches everyone. People who don't understand your tone, don't understand your way of communicating, don't understand your current talking points. And then it gets misconstrued, misunderstood, and everything else. But you reading that tweet back, it doesn't sound as bad as I initially thought it was earlier this week. But at any rate, we now know that it's, Dave followed up a couple days later and with more details, and Mike Johnson had details, and it's very clear that WWE is in fact talking to Warner Bros. Discovery, and there's some other people that were denying that and that report, and it definitely seems to be the case. So what I don't like is it's the all-time fraud Eric Bischoff. Now, this is what bothers me about this. Okay, here's what bothers me about this, because it's, this is a guy whose entire brand at this point, and he's not the only one. There's some lesser people who don't even deserve their names mentioned, whose entire brand is just discrediting Dave Meltzer and propping up, whatever other journalists of choice they have, in this game where you just want to discredit Meltzer. But it's funny that Dave breaks the seal on this WWE is negotiating with Warner Brothers Discovery story. And those same people who will go out of their way to constantly discredit Dave for not knowing anything will then jump all over that like Bischoff did this week and talk about how this spells doom for AEW and how this is such a smart move by WWE to get in there and negotiate with them. Now, hold on a second. You can't discredit the guy constantly and say he doesn't know anything. And then when he breaks the seal on a story, piggyback it, because see, this is how Eric Bischoff exposes himself. Okay. Because it's whatever his dopey fan base or his, his whatever he understands. I've never called him stupid. It's whatever he feels is going to suit his dopey audience. And he knows that his dopey audience wants to hear AEW doom and gloom. So he'll gladly latch on to a story like this, even if it's being reported by Dave, because he knows that's feeding into what his audience wants to hear. Just like his audience wants to hear Dave Meltzer slander and Dave Meltzer being discredited. And
what's the whole
interesting?
I don't know how many times you've actually listened to 83 Weeks, and I would not advise ever doing that, but that's what the entire show is. Like, he'll do the show where Conrad just basically reads through the Observer. 75% of it, Eric goes, yeah, and reacts to it. And then one thing will be what he thinks is wrong or that he misremembers or whatever. And then he goes on a 25-minute rant about how the Dirt Sheet Writers make everything up or whatever. And I'm like, well, hold on a minute. The entire premise of the show is Conrad's reading you the Observers, and 95% of this stuff you're nodding along going, okay, yeah. And then something, this guy, he's got no idea what he's doing. He just makes shit up, and he's a jock sniffer and all that. It's just like, what? but again, like you said, that's meat for the fan base. They love that shit. They'll ignore the 90% of the show where Dave is writing all this stuff and Eric's just nodding along and yeah, this is what happened, and okay, that to all get to the one point where he goes, this dirt sheet bullshit, god damn it, all about that, where yeah, just, and that's exactly it too. He can discredit Dave all he wants and then spend the next day going, yeah, Punk's really paying off for WWE already, and it's like, okay, well, what is it then?
Well, yeah, and that's the other massive contradiction. When Punk was with AEW, Bischoff was constantly talking about how he's not a draw, and he was never a big star, and he's not benefiting AEW. The guy goes to WWE, and he has done a complete 180 on CM Punk. He's helping him get in the door with WBD. He's a great television draw. They're handling him so well, and he's doing such great things. And it's amazing to me that people don't see through this. It's just whatever suits his audience is what his stance is. He's just totally disingenuous, and it's all a game. And in this instance, Bischoff cannot lose, right? Because if WBD cuts a deal with WWE, well, this is what Bischoff has been touting for the last 3 days. It's a brilliant, it's a stroke of genius. If they don't, he can say that Dave Meltzer once again was full of shit and had bad information. Mm-hmm. You see how
he's very smart.
So this is what
we'll
yes,
never,
I've never
ever,
said he's
ever
dumb.
call Eric. We'll call him a fraud. We'll call him a fraud all day, every day, and I'll shout that from the mountaintops as long as I live. But he's not a dummy. He is not a dummy. He might not make great business decisions, and he might be an all-time fraud in terms of wrestling promotion and wrestling business or whatever. But he is not a dumb guy at all. He's very smart, very calculated in everything he does. Right.
So now, no matter how this plays out, he has an angle to play for his audience. # strictly business. And so it goes. So that's one facet of this where it's fascinating to watch from afar and watch it play out. But really just wrestling media in a lot of ways shitting all over themselves again, shitting down their pant leg. But we just saw this with baseball media with the Ohtani.
I was going to say not exclusive to wrestling, unfortunately.
Pro wrestling, yeah. It's Ohtani, if you were to believe a lot of people who work for real outlets, is playing for the Toronto Blue Jays now, which obviously is not the case. So, we see this in it's worse in wrestling, obviously, for all the reasons that we've outlined.
Yeah, it happens multiple times a week. It happens so often that becomes the biggest issue. But for people that do not know, the Ohtani news was essentially the day before, maybe the day, I guess it was the day before he officially announced that he was signing with the Dodgers, that it became official. There was all this speculation that he was going to Toronto. And then there was this big stuff about this plane that was supposedly going from Anaheim to Toronto, and that Ohtani was on that plane, and that's the plane that he's going to, and then little by little, people did the thing that we always talk about in this. Instead of being correct, they want to be current. And this is a big problem, I think, with Twitter. And everybody always says, I can't get rid of Twitter because it's the best for breaking news. I've always argued it's not the best for breaking news because all it does is it's just a powder keg of misinformation all the time. This Otani thing is exactly what happens. One person got whiff of this, hey, Otani could be going to Toronto thing, and nobody wanted to not be in on it. Now your big boy journalists, your big boy reporters, they stayed out of it. Like your Woj's and your Shams and stuff in the NBA will stay out of this or whatever. But like all the other kind of bit players in the game are like, well, shit, I don't want to miss out on this Otani to Toronto thing. So little by little, this snowball effect happens where everyone's like, yes, what you're hearing is also what I'm hearing, and I'm hearing some of the same things that's being said, or yep, I think that's right, or that I'm hearing what is being said, and all, and everybody kept doing this, and everybody kept doing this, and everybody kept doing this, and then eventually it came out that no, just some dude flying a plane from Anaheim to Toronto. Otani wasn't on there, and Otani's in California. Because then finally at I think it was 5 p.m. or something like that, the adults in the room had to step up, and your John Heymans and your Bob Nightingales and those sort of guys had to say, Otani's in California. He's not in Toronto. What are you guys talking about? And then like a couple hours later, he signed with the Dodgers, and it was like all these people showed their ass all day on this Toronto stuff because they wanted to be current. They wanted to be in with the conversation, and instead of being right and instead of actually figuring out what the real story was or doing real journalism, it was eyeball emojis. I'm hearing things that you're all hearing. Yeah. And that's exactly the thing it goes right back to the Saudi thing that we talked about with WWE, where instead of anybody doing any real journalism, it was just eyeball emojis. If what I'm hearing is true, oh my God, and oh my God, oh wow, big things are happening. And it's all about being current and being in the conversation instead of being right.
It's so that if the thing happens, you could say you were right. And what a lot of the baseball writers were doing, like there was one guy who flat out said that he had a time for the media conference. He's like, the media conference.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, it was like Otani media conference, 6 p.m. And it was like, whoa, all right.
And, and then you had other people, tracking. And first of all, just let me say, whether it's because this has happened.
Oh, the plane tracking
too.
people. Oh, please.
If anyone who tracks a private plane, that's loser shit. You're a fucking loser if you're tracking private planes in an effort to trail down a story.
The only people
I'm serious. That is loser shit.
It's loser shit.
The tracking private planes.
The only people I will give a modicum of credit to are college football weirdos. Because college football weirdos are already weirdos anyway, and also it's a lot easier to track who's moving from like Tuscaloosa to College Station or whatever.
Yeah, but college football should be abolished, so it's still loser shit.
I mean, I agree that it's loser shit, but I think those people are well aware of how big of losers they are. Whereas some poor guy, some poor sap, probably some Toronto businessman or whatever, was going to Disney World with his children or whatever.
No. Do you know who it was? It was one of the guys from Shark Tank. It was, and he was flying back from LA to Toronto. His family was just going back home for the weekend. That's what it was.
And you had 6,000 people watching the every move. Oh, it's over Iowa now. Oh my God, he's going to be there any minute now. It's just like...
Yeah, and these losers who are tracking private flights just assumed it was Otani on the flight. And then what happens is, if you're a mid-level or low-level baseball reporter, you're like, well, I can just gamble here. And if it is Otani on the flight, I could be, when Ken Rosenthal sends out his tweet saying that Otani is signing, he's going to credit me for having it first. And I could that's the game. And that's kind of what you were saying.
Kill me. I hate this so much. God damn it.
They're gambling. They're gambling. And what we're seeing, in wrestling media now too is someone will break a story and then another reporter will go, oh, I can confirm that too, or here's what I'm hearing about this, and it's like,
I am also hearing the same things.
That wasn't your story. Yeah. Like that's not your story, and you're not really adding anything when you do that. And this week it turned out that the story was true, and you had people denying the story, and and everybody has different sources. I get it. You know what I mean? I don't think. Well, I like to think that nobody is making things up just in an effort to discredit another reporter. And I don't think that's happening. I don't want to think that's happening. But sometimes you just got to lay low when somebody else has it, when someone else has the scoop. So,
well, and Suit Williams brings up a great point. We saw it this week again with the Ilya Dragunov thing, where I don't know if you saw this, but a picture got tweeted out of Ilya Dragunov selling a neck injury from the NXT tapings this week, because they're doing the tapings this week so they can give everybody off for Christmas. So they're doing these NXT tapings. Ridge Holland, the guy who suplexed Big E and broke his neck, was on NXT and did something to Ilya Dragunov or whatever, and they took him out on a stretcher and he sold his neck. Well, this guy, random, I don't know who it was just some random fan at the show, says Ilya Dragunov just broke his neck, or Ridge Holland just broke Ilya Dragunov's neck or whatever. And then you had, oh, this is ridiculous, and the safety of wrestling, and how is Ridge Holland allowed to be in the ring again, and people just going off, going crazy, going nuts. And it's like, nobody stopped to think, wait a minute, I wonder if, and here, follow this train of logic, Joe. I'm wondering if this professional wrestling company maybe was saying that a wrestler was more hurt than they really were. Or perhaps this wrestler was faking that he was hurt when he in fact was not hurt in a professional wrestling ring. And nobody stopped to think that. Everybody had to shoot off their, prayers for Ilya, prayers up for Ilya, hope everything is okay. And then start how is Ridge Holland allowed back in the ring after he did, he did this to Big E. How would they let him in the ring again? This is absolutely irresponsible. And da-da-da-da-da. Instead of just, you don't have to be current. Just be right. Just calm down a little bit. Let's think. And then it came out, it was a work, and they're just selling an injury. And it's like, now you all look like absolute buffoons. But like you said, those people can just delete that or just say, oh, I didn't know. But then if they're right, they get a lot of back pats and all this sort of stuff. And it's all just about clout and likes, and kill me. I hate this all.
And now Ridge Holland got dragged through the mud for no reason whatsoever, too. There's that part of it.
Well, in another era, he would just own that. You know what I mean? He would just come on and be like, God damn right, I broke his neck and I'll break it again or whatever. But we can't do that because that would be really bad, and we tisk him and all that sort of stuff. So
he would be the neck breaker, Ridge Holland. That would be his gimmick.
right.
But,
the crippler, Chris Benoit. You know what I mean? Drops everyone his neck and goes, fuck it, I'm the crippler now. Great, let's do it. Let's run with it. But can't do that with Ridge Holland. I don't think you're going to call him the crippler Ridge Holland anytime soon. But
I mean, you should be able to, in all honesty. But
but nobody can handle that. Not in today's wrestling, man. People can't handle it. People absolutely can't handle it. They can't. Ilya Dragunov was selling a neck injury, and everyone's like, oh, so soon after Big E's injury. And it's like, all right, fine, whatever.
Yeah,
your wrestling sucks. All right, just come on. Can we have some? Can we try to suspend our disbelief and just have actual things? I mean, Jesus Christ, there was the Bryan Danielson thing. Remember his leg? Got hurt and stuck in the apron or whatever, and everybody was
in the apron. Yeah,
everybody was going nuts.
Everybody they wanted to shut AEW down because the stage was unsafe. And it turned out he was just fucking with everybody.
It's Bryan Danielson. He does nothing more than to invent an injury and then focus his entire work on it. AK his eye, that's happening right now. And they're having matches.
Well, that's a whole separate Twitter issue where, as you know, everybody has to be the most virtuous person possible. Like you have to be the most caring and the most virtuous person. And it's a race to be the most virtuous. So when something like that happens, well, all right, this guy got his leg stuck between the apron and the ring. I'm going to have to find a way to I have to find a way to show how virtuous I am, and I have to blame someone for it, and I have to have some over the top opinion like AEW should be shut down because they don't know how to keep people safe. So there's that whole thing. There's the safety trolls and there's that whole thing too. Every time someone gets hurt in the enemy company, then the concern trolls come out with the safety stuff. And my God, this is why you just got to leave that app behind. There's just so many layers to this nonsense. And I'm embarrassed that we were a part of it for as long as we were. I really am. Thinking back, it's humiliating, honestly.
The hours wasted that I will never get back on my deathbed. I will think about those hours all the time. Yeah,
so many hours. It's so many times where I turned to one of the children and was like, "In a minute, I'll give you lunch."
Right.
I'm arguing and I have to win this argument.
Right. Surely this man will apologize to me for his wrong opinion. It's just going to take another hour of arguing, and then surely he'll say, I'm sorry. You are right. I was wrong. Yeah. Thank you.
Daddy, I'm hungry. Well, if you're hungry now, you'll be hungry in 10 minutes when I'm done with this argument. Right. It's just awful behavior. Listen, it's but like you just said a couple minutes ago too, there's a lot of I watched a lot of wrestling this week and not much of it was good. I can tell you that right now. I can't think of a week where I watched as much wrestling as this week. And man, I didn't come away very sports entertained watching much of it. I can tell you that. And we're gonna review most of it. But you blew a lot of it off. You're smarter than me.
Yeah. You were like, oh, and we're going to do MLW and Impact. And I was like, no, we're not. You can. I am not watching One Shot, and I am not watching Final Resolution. I looked at the cage match for Final Resolution, saw the match ratings, and said, I'm good. And then MLW, that One Shot show looked absolutely horrific. So I also bowed out on that one. But
I got to tell you, the best match I saw this week was on One Shot.
Okay. All right. Little teaser. Let's hold that. Let's hold that.
Let me scroll through these.
Yeah, nothing on Dynamite. When does the weekend? What is your weekend?
Oh, hold on. I don't know if we're counting. I'm talking about the shows we're reviewing here today.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So let's see. But I tell you what. You know what? Let's throw in Dynamite. I still say the best match I saw this week was on One Shot.
And Collision would be the last week, right? Like your week would be. I'm
talking starting Monday.
Monday.
Like
okay.
The stuff I watched since Monday.
Okay.
The stuff I watched since Monday. I watched Collision over the weekend. So let's see. Nothing on Deadline was better.
I hate to interrupt you. But Nathan in the No chat room, just the perfect encapsulation of Twitter and why it's so terrible. Did you see what I'm seeing right now?
No,
it's so great. It's it nails it exactly. It's us talking about tweeting and how it's just a waste of time. Nathan says, I stopped doing that after I fought with Val Venus about FEMA camps. It's exactly.
Well, there you go.
That's it. That's the essence right there. Nathan staying up all hours of the night to argue with Sean Morley, aka Val Venus, about FEMA camps. That's it. Don't do this. Nobody needs to do this. Leave. We all did it.
Yeah.
But we should all be smart enough to now realize that we don't need it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
That's great.
I'm thinking, let's see, Deadline, New Japan World Tag Finals, Impact Final Resolution. There's some contenders on Dynamite, but I still say the best match I saw this week was on MLW One Shot. I'm sticking to that.
There it is. Did you watch the Tokyo Joshi Pro 10 Man that I recommended last week?
I did not.
Oh, damn it, show. Everybody wanted to hear the review.
There was a lot to watch.
There was a lot to watch.
I didn't get to it.
You did some Eddie Gilbert thing that we'll talk about later, I guess. So that maybe took a little bit of time too. So
a lot of time, so much time. I'm so behind on everything because of that. But I'm proud of it, and I'm glad that I put the final touches on it. But
something had to fall to the wayside, and unfortunately, the Tokyo Joshi Pro 10-person tag did.
Fuck that shit. That's absolutely what fell to the wayside. There's no doubt about it that's what fell. I will get to it. I am going to watch it.
At this point, at this point. I guess for your December notebook review, you should give it a look.
I have to watch it. I have to watch the fucking match. Something's got to change though. I can't keep up this pace. It's just I can't. Something's got to change. What am I? Owen Hart? But something has to change.
Enough is enough.
And something's got to change. I can't keep the pace, but I'll get to it. Maybe by next week, we'll see. Which, by the way, can't be on Thursday because the Rams are playing the Saints, and we're in a playoff chase here.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. That's good to know now. Let's see. I think
that's got to be moved around.
All right.
So we got to do this show on fucking Wednesday or Friday or some shit. But why don't you just call out of that dopey job? We'll just do it Thursday afternoon. Why don't you just do that?
I could.
Better yet, why don't you march in that office and be like, I'm out of here. Take this job and shove it. Yeah? Why don't you just pull that?
Waiting for the Christmas bonus. We'll see what the Christmas bonus comes with, and then we'll decide. That should be coming next week. So I don't want it to be a bad time to leave. I should at least wait for that to come in and then cash that old check and then decide from there. So
they won't give you your Christmas bonus if you leave now? You think they'll?
I think they would. I think they would withhold that. I think they would withhold it. Yeah.
That's some dirty business by a company that shall not be named.
You don't get ahead with being. I've been in business 35, 40 years. That's how you do it. Stuff like that. So anyway.
That's an Ebenezer Scrooge shit.
It kind of is. But
no Christmas bonus for you.
It is a bonus, to be fair. It's not really,
Who's the what's that guy's name in who's Scrooge's employee where his kid is the cripple? Tiny Tim.
Tiny Tim.
Hoskins?
I don't know if I know what Tiny Tim's dad's name was.
Nah, Cratchit. Was it Cratchit?
Bob Cratchit. You're right. There it is. Bob Cratchit. Yes.
Bob Cratchit. So you're like Bob Cratchit in this scenario, right?
Yeah.
You're afraid to quit because
abused, grossly underpaid, hands bleeding from the desk work.
Ebenezer,
right.
Ebenezer weight bench over there is not going to give you the Christmas bonus if you if you leave a week early. And Tiny Tim in this scenario is one of those Italian dogs you got over there, Dominic or whatever the fuck his name is.
Louis.
So Louis.
He's French.
So
Louis, like Louis Dangor. He's Louis with the
like Louis. That's the Louis you choose.
Well, what other
you
Louis
choose
you got?
Louis Dangor. I mean, I have to be honest. If you say Louis, that'd probably be the first Louis I think
right.
of.
What's the first Louis that comes to your mind? Louis Dangor.
Yeah.
This one would also probably fuck a pizza if given the option to do so. So, hey, happens all the time.
Wow.
Anyway, WBD and WWE. Let's get this thing back on track as quick as possible. I don't know. It's like my stance on this story is right now. Some people are freaking out, and this is the end of AEW, and it's all over, and Tony Khan should just tell everybody to pack things up and call it a day. That's ridiculous. But it's I think everyone's doing their due diligence here. I think Warner Brothers should talk to WWE. WWE should talk to Warner Brothers Discovery. AEW should explore all their options as well. That's what negotiating is. That's what $1 billion industry is. Like this. So I don't see it as the big doom and gloom that everybody else sees. I see it as, everyone's looking at their options. And I think with live TV sports being as valuable as they are and still a hot commodity, that if for whatever reason WBD did decide to go with WWE or whatever, I think AEW would find another partner if they wanted to. And then there's the weird scenario that people bring up that, hey, would you have both these guys on the same network and under the same, I wouldn't do that. And we're going 9 steps ahead. All these guys, they're negotiating right now. They're talking, and that's what you should do. That's WWE should do. That's what Warner Brothers should do. Anything beyond that is just either doom and glooming or just wild speculation at that point. They're doing what they're supposed to do, negotiate with people. Who knows what it's going to be. It's either going to be a massive, massive story, or it's going to be they're trying to drive prices down, drive prices up. The WWE could be using this to go to another network and say, hey, we talked to WBD. WBD could go to AEW and say, hey, well, we're talking to WWE. It's all what this negotiating tactic is. That's all it is. So I'm not too worried about it. I think it's just kind of business as usual for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you want to discuss the story itself, it's very wise of WWE to try to negotiate with WBD. Why wouldn't they attempt to negotiate, especially if Punk is a strong negotiating chip, like a lot of people are saying? You absolutely have to get in the room with them and try. I mean, you're trying to sell a show here, and and the more potential buyers you have, the higher you're going to drive that price up. And oh, by the way, if you have a chance to fuck with a competitor at the same time, then yeah, that's just a nice little bonus, But I think that with the numbers that Dynamite pulls, I don't think, some of the more reactionary stuff, like it will spell the end for AEW. I don't see it. I don't see with the numbers that Dynamite pulls that they can't find a home somewhere, So, and I've said that from the start, whether it's with Warner Brothers Discovery or elsewhere. I think that they would find another television home because the numbers are just too good. And, there's far weaker properties than AEW that are getting renewals on their rights fees in this latest round. So like that women's soccer league that we talked about a few weeks ago and some other things. So, like the minor league version of the F1 circuit that's on the CW. I mean, they would find a place to air, so from that standpoint. Now, would they get the same caliber of deal? I don't know. It depends, what's left in the landscape and who's left to negotiate with. And look, it's not good. It's not good for AEW that WWE is negotiating with their broadcast partner. And, Tony Khan at the end of the day might end up getting burned for his loyalty, and he's been very loyal to them in hopes that they would be loyal to him. And then we'll see how that plays out. I mean, there's that story that he could have had ROH on CW, but opted not to because he wanted to be loyal. Well, sometimes you learn the hard way. It's hard business out there. So
yeah, it's real business. This is it's a cutthroat business of assholes and liars and big money deals and $1 billion and all this stuff moving around. Like, yeah, you don't know anybody's shit. WBD doesn't know AEW shit. AEW doesn't know them shit. WWE doesn't know anybody. They're allowed to negotiate with WBD. And even if they ultimately want to go to USA, it makes sense to get in the room with as many people as possible and say, well, hey, we got this deal from Amazon and this deal from WBD and this deal from this or whatever. Like, that's what it's all about. And someone's going to pony up a bunch of money for WWE, and then whoever doesn't, if they still want professional wrestling or live sports, there's AEW for you if it happens to be WBD or whatever. So, yeah, to me, it's all.
I see the chat. Okay, so it's not minor league F1; it's minor league NASCAR.
Yes,
it's on CW.
I just didn't want people to get all their panties in a bunch.
What's the minor? What's the minor league F1? F2.
F2. It is. Yeah. That's what it's
called. Wait, that was a joke. It really is.
No, it's called F2.
Okay, but didn't F2 just sign a deal somewhere too?
That I don't know. That I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, but anyway, the point here is, when shit like that is fined in there's no reason that AEW
right live sports. So, maybe money wise, there's been those. And we talked about it a couple weeks ago where people signed deals. Raw signed a deal, or SmackDown, I should say, signed a deal that wasn't as much as people anticipated. It's still a shit ton of money getting moved around. It's maybe not as much as it was a couple of years ago, but it still is big time money. And live sports is the last bastion for cable TV. There is nothing else on cable TV that is drawing any amount of consistent viewers, non-DVR viewers of all age groups. The only thing left is live sports, and wrestling will count under live sports to a lot of these networks. And yeah, it's, lost in the WWE, the WWE stuff with Fox kind of fell apart because Fox wasn't getting ad rates that they felt comfortable enough with. They weren't getting enough ratings or whatever, but they were also paying them $1 billion and giving them network television or whatever. That's big expectations that Fox had for them. But, you put most other kind of cable networks, be it USA, FS1, all these other ones are more than happy to pony up some pretty big money to get a guaranteed decent enough ratings, like you said, for minor league soccer, for NBA, for MLB, for the Xfinity series, and all this stuff it's all still tremendously valuable because there's just nothing else left on cable that draws any amount of consistent viewers. So yeah, you'll pay for it for sure.
It's and we'll wrap it up with this. WWE continues to be in so many ways the luckiest company in the history of the earth, because this CM Punk AEW relationship was going to fall apart at some point post Brawl Out. And if Jack Perry doesn't make his little quip about the real glass in Wembley, it probably takes a little longer to fall apart, right? Like, he might still be there now, or something may have happened, a little bit later, but eventually it was all it was a house of cards that was going to come down at some point. But the timing of when they finally had to fire CM Punk, right, allowed him to come back to the WWE in time for Survivor Series and for the Royal Rumble and for WrestleMania and for the television negotiations, right? And you watch how this plays out, because CM Punk is in that honeymoon period that he was in with AEW for the first year until Brawl Out, really, or before that when things started simmering. You get the idea. And he's down at the PC taking pictures with everybody, and he's looking healthy, and he's, doing promos on all the shows, and he's helping them get into the room with new networks for negotiations, and he's probably going to help them score a television deal for Monday Night Raw. And this is all going to happen, and he's gonna help them have a successful Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. And then eventually Punk is going to do what Punk does, and he's going to, get into a fist fight with somebody, or get into a disagreement with the wrong person, or things are going to go sour. But it's all going to be after WWE got everything they needed out of him. It's just amazing how lucky they always are. If Jack Perry doesn't make that quip, Punk is moping around AEW for another 3 months, 6 months, year, right? And then the timing is all off when he melts down and gets fired. And he probably still ends up with WWE, but not with this perfect chain of events where he can just, help them sail this fucking ship home with the Raw deal. Isn't it amazing how lucky
always
they
happens.
are all
always
of the
happens.
time?
Yep.
They are so fucking lucky, And I just want to live long enough to watch them take the big L. That's all. Can that happen? I want to live long enough to watch that company take the big L.
I don't think so, because
they're just...
Vince McMahon got outed as creating an atmosphere of rampant sexual abuse among the alleged rampant sexual abuse among the leadership of the company, himself included. And all that happened is he left, and then their ratings exploded and their business exploded. So, and people just ignore it and don't ask any questions about it.
Then he came back and nobody cared.
Right. So that was the L. That was it, Joe. That was the moment where we thought we had it, and we're not. So I think you should just don't hang on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't wait. I wouldn't wait if you know. If the pearly gates come calling, just run to the gates, Joe, because there's no point in waiting. It's not going to happen.
It sounds like you want me. I don't like your tone.
Well, I'm just saying. Like, you know, don't hold on. It's because I just don't think it's going to be worth it.
I want to hold on.
Okay, well, don't hold on for that reason. Hold on for other reasons. Hold on for your children. Hold on.
Die.
Yeah, I'm just saying, don't hold on. If you're waiting for WWE to take the L, then I feel like we're going to be waiting our entire lives because that was it.
I want to live, Rich.
I know. No, I know. Just saying.
So stop telling me not to hold on. I want to hold on. I'm going to hold on. I want to go into the fucking chamber, the hyperbolic fucking, what do you call it?
Oh, yeah. That should probably be. Oh, they should have
cryogenic.
They should have that nice and rocking by the time you're, 20, 30 years. That should be nice and rocking for sure.
20, 30. Jeez, why are you in such a rush to kill me?
I'm not. I'm just saying, the technology be ready to go by that point. I'm not saying you have to get in the chamber in 20 years. I'm just saying, I feel like in 20, 30 years, that technology will have fully arrived and you'll be good to go.
You know who wanted to do that? Larry King. And then his family talked him out of it.
Yeah.
Which
was he trying? He was trying to do the Ted Williams thing, right? The freeze.
That's what I just said. He had a crowd.
Well, no, okay. So you want to be, I'm saying that there's something that will probably be, you can just like go into a tube and just like be suspended in water or something.
Right. The idea is till they can figure out how to cure what's killing you.
Right.
What killed you, you know? Isn't Ted Williams' head?
His head's in there. Yeah. Which I don't know. That seems a little
that's a little weird.
Because now you need to be able to put someone's head into another body. Like it's not enough that they're like, hey, we cured what happened. We can unfreeze you. Fuck, we don't know how to put you back together. We got a head here. We're good. We don't know how to attach it to another body again. So, yeah, we can't fully get this. Yeah, I feel like if you're going to do it all the way. Go the whole body.
Wasn't there some issue, too, where the facility that was holding his head had a power outage?
Yeah.
Defrosted a little, and then they had to refreeze it, and he's fucked. Like, he's just fucked.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like a good situation for Ted Williams. What about this technology that they're coming up with where they can download your not what's the word I'm looking for? Not your mind, not your brain, they can basically download your personality or the words escaping me, and then you can live on like through a computer, like because your entire personality and all your memories and everything, but now you're just like you're a computer chip. I don't know how I feel about that. It's like, is that really you? Am I going to consciously know that that's me? Or is it just going to be all of my thoughts, memories, and personalities duplicated? Because that's not really you then. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you're still dead.
Not there. That's
like, you're still dead.
Well, and it runs into a lot of the issues that the AI runs into. Yeah, let's get big picture. Let's talk big stuff here, Joe, where it's also that whatever you're at that time, whatever you're thinking at that time, whatever's in your memory at that time gets loaded in, but it doesn't adapt, it doesn't move, it doesn't learn, it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like it's frozen and it's stuck. So it's not you, and it's not a real human being. You know what I mean? It might have.
That's what I mean. Is it truly your consciousness, as in it's you, or is it a duplicate of your consciousness?
It's just a duplicate of what your conscious was up to that point, and then nothing after. Yeah, which doesn't count. That doesn't do anything.
That doesn't count. Because you're not then you do not exist anymore anyway. It's just a duplicate of you exists. It's like if they clone you and you die and your clone lives on, you're still dead. It's just your clone that's still alive.
Yes.
You see? And that's not suitable to me. I want to live on.
You want you in all the glory.
Yeah. What was the fucking magician gimmick with the guy who played Wolverine and Christian Bale? The fuck was the name of that movie? That's a perfect example where he kept killing versions of himself because he wanted to do the great magic trick. What the fuck was the name of that shit? The chat. The chat is so great. Having this chat is incredible.
You could be wrong and then just wait a couple minutes and you'll get it right. Yeah. I'm
going to go to, hold on. I'm going to Yahoo to Google.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Google magician movie.
Prestige.
The guy who played Wolverine I'm Googling this just like your dad would.
The Prestige.
Magician movie with the guy who played Wolverine and the guy who played the Batman. And let's see if that works.
Okay.
Who played the Batman. Let's see if that actually produces a result. I wrote Magician movie with the guy who played Wolverine and the guy who played the Batman, and it brings up The Prestige. Google is amazing, Rich.
Unbelievable.
It is amazing. But yes, in The Prestige, they're trying to did you see that movie?
I had never did.
They're like dueling magicians, right? And they're trying to out-duel each other's tricks. It's like from the Victorian era. I hope that's the right era. And, so they're so determined that like Jackman he finds out a way to clone himself. And then in the trick, he's killing like himself, but then his clone is living on. You see what I'm saying? But it's not really him. It's just a series of clones. Like he's dead. Like he keeps dying. That's not what I want. I want the real deal Joe Lanza to live on until the sun burns out, and then figure out a way to live on from there as well. You know?
That makes all the sense in the world. Yeah, because it's just not the same. Yeah, and you could throw this, unfrozen Ted Williams head on a body. It ain't Ted Williams. You know what I mean? It's not going to be Ted Williams. That's not.
It's not going to be. Well, if it's
splendid
his head,
Splinter. It's not that. You know what I mean? It's not Ted Williams.
Well, see, I don't know if they can get his head on another body.
No, the body
can't.
It's his. No.
Well, it's still his brain and his consciousness, though.
Yeah, but I think the body's got to be. You could tell I could tell my body to do all these sort of things that I want it to do. If it can't do it, it can't do it. I tell myself I want to dunk all the time. I can't fucking dunk. You know what I mean? Like my body.
No. Look, his new body isn't going to be able to hit 420. But if they're able
to
revive his brain and his consciousness, that will be him, right? That like he'll know, like he'll be like, "Oh, how long have I been frozen?" Like he'll be aware that it's him. You see what I'm saying?
We don't know. I guess we'll find out. I guess we'll find. Will he shake it off and be like, "What the heck? What's going on here?" I don't know. That's an interesting question.
No, I think it would be because it's still his brain and his head and and your consciousness is presumably in your brain, right? So, I think that's the best option anyone has come up. If obviously none of this shit works. I don't think you could just freeze a head and fucking thaw it out in 140 years. But if it were to work, I think that would be more truly living forever than downloading your consciousness onto a hard drive.
Yeah, no, that's shit. That's bullshit. Yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah, that's some garbage. Yeah, I don't. I guess it's better than nothing. But then what happens if someone like unplugs the fucking computer? Like
a power outage like it happened at
with a hard drive. Someone comes over with a magnet and just fucks with the hard drive.
Yeah, it's over.
Then what?
Yeah, you're done.
Then it's all over, So I'm not down with the hard drive consciousness. That I don't like.
Well, there you go. I got Joe and his existential crisis discussion, which I should not have done, and that's my fault. But here we are. I don't know how we got from David Zaslav to this, but here we go. So that is WBD and WBD, them talking. So we talked about Punk. We mentioned CM Punk. Let's check in with old Phil Brooks in World Wrestling Entertainment. We're a few weeks in now. He's been back for a few weeks. We had that weird intro promo on Raw that we talked about. The night after Survivor Series, that was kind of like, this guy doesn't have his fastball. He's not quite there. What have you thought of CM Punk since that point? He's been on pretty much every show. He's been on NXT. He's been on SmackDown. He's been on Raw again. He was on NXT Deadline. He's been all over the place since then. What have you made of Punk's, so far, before we get to let's save the NXT thing with Shawn Michaels for the NXT thing with Shawn Michaels. But before that, like everything else that he's done so far, how have you felt about him after that Raw promo, which I think we agree and most people agree just was not right. It did not feel like a good CM Punk promo at all. It was all wrong. It was all wrong.
The Raw promo sucked. It felt like his heart wasn't in it. I thought the SmackDown promo was great. I thought it was much better than the Raw promo. There was some light behind his eyes. It felt like he wanted to be there. It felt like he was energized and into it, unlike the Raw promo. Is it because he knew he got his time cut on Raw? Well, he made sure he shoehorned that into the SmackDown promo to let everybody know that his time was cut on Raw. And I thought that the SmackDown promo laid out all of the future business. He made it clear he wants to headline WrestleMania. He made it clear he wants to go into the Royal Rumble. He set up some potential feuds with about a half a dozen different people. And he made it clear that he was going to show up on Raw and make his decision for what brand he was going to sign with. So from a storyline standpoint, the SmackDown promo was also much. The Raw promo was just a total dud. So I thought that worked. If you saw the quarter hours for SmackDown, I mean, it's very clear to this point, he's still a massive television draw, or for Raw rather, he's still a massive television draw. Because his Raw quarter,
that fucking chart was insane.
It just spiked through the fucking roof, above and beyond the rest of the show. And don't think for 1 second, look, they knew there were 2 Monday Night Football games, so they strategically planned having Punk go back to Raw to make the big brand decision on the night that there were 2 Monday Night Football games. That was deliberate. And the Raw number overall, the overall average was down because of the 2 football games. And really, it was 3 broadcasts because there was a Manning cast that night as well. But his quarter was so above and beyond everything else on the show. It's very clear that what happened was they lost a lot of viewers to the 2 football games, but a lot of those viewers came back for Punk. They left the football to watch Punk's segment. So, I mean, that's a huge feather in his cap from that standpoint. So we see how long. Now, they've added him to a couple house shows, the MSG house show. And since they've added him to the MSG house show 2 days ago, they've sold over 1,000 tickets. So say what you want about Punk. He's still a business mover. There's no doubt about it. I'm going to say something else too. The fact he's working with Dom, that's not a coincidence. I guarantee you he asked for that. I guarantee you. I don't remember. Did I ever say it on the show? I know I said it on the Discord many times. I know I've said it in some group chats or whatever, but I don't know if I ever talked about it on the show. Even when he was with AEW, he wanted to work with Dom. He was telling people he wanted to work with Dom. This guy loves Dom. Like, he sees Dom. And someone said to him, why do you want to work with Dom? Dom sucks. And I'm paraphrasing the conversation, and Punk's reaction was, I know he sucks. That's the point. That's why I want to work. That's what makes Dom awesome. What makes Dom awesome is that he sucks. So, like, he has always wanted to work with Dom. So the fact that he's booked with Dom on these 2 house shows, I think it's MSG for sure. I don't know what the other one is.
Kia Forum, Los Angeles. That's the big one that they're going to invite TV, all the TV execs to as well.
That's right. You just mentioned that. Yeah. I guarantee you he asked for Dom specifically. He's been chomping at the bit to work with Dom. So, and it's funny how they're going to burn off his first match in 9 years on a house show. Because I think the MSG show is the first match he's going to work in 9 years.
Right.
Yeah. That's an interesting route that they're taking, because here's the thing. And I think it's smart, because you can sell that MSG match as the first match he's going to work in 9 years, but you can still sell his first TV match in 9 years. You can still sell his first pay-per-view match in 9 years. But if you do it in reverse and have him wrestle on TV first, you lose. That's it. It's over. There's no luster. There's nothing special about CM Punk's first house show in 9 years.
Right. If he wrestled on Raw this week in some random match, you then can't sell those January 30th MSG show or whatever, or the December 30th Los Angeles show, and say, hey, come see CM Punk in Los Angeles for the first time since it comes across. You're absolutely right. It's way better to start with the house shows, have him do those tours there, first time to see Punk in 9 years or whatever, and then work through pay-per-views and TV and that sort of stuff afterwards.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because there's still going to be interest in the first TV match. There's still going to be interest in the first pay-per-view match. So they're doing all of that in the correct order. There's no doubt about that. So from that standpoint, his run, we'll get to the NXT thing. I really want to, I know we have to wait, but I really
we'll transition right into that at the end. Let's save that for the end and go right to NXT Deadline with that, because
that's what we'll do. But yeah, to this point, I mean, the guy's been just like, not to the same level of the AEW return, because that's a whole different deal, but similar to that return, you can't knock the return to this point from a business standpoint. It's worked. It has drawn. So we see how long it draws, and I still think they've obviously started the Seth Rollins feud. That all screamed work to me from the start, when the way Rollins reacted at the Survivor Series. And I get the idea Drew McIntyre is working too. I know a lot of people want to believe, his comments on the bump, but him storming out at the Survivor Series, on the same night that Rollins acted the way he did, and then the comments he made on the bump, I don't know. I think all of this is a work. So I think that the idea is we're going to play this as if everyone on our roster who's been here and knows Punk and worked with him the first time don't want him here. And that's going to be the impetus for these programs. So I could be wrong. I mean, we were right about Seth, but the Seth one I think was pretty obvious. I'm leaning work on Drew. I don't know where you stand.
I am too. Yeah, I can't imagine. It's just a little too on the nose. And you said it right there. His comments on the bump is enough for me to say, yeah, okay, I think we're working here. You know what I mean? That gives me enough to think that we're probably doing that. And yeah, the Punk stuff has been, I think the thing with me is he's clearly so far and away better than everybody else in that company right now at cutting promos. And we knew that, you know what I mean? Like we knew that was obviously, but it's like even him doing WWE Universe and PL, you know, doing all the stuff that he has to do to be a WWE promo guy, it's still 1,000 times better than everybody else on the, because he still speaks like a human being more, even when he's trying to do the stuff that you need to do or whatever. But what I talked about this on the Discord with some people, and it's kind of my thought that I've had so far with the Punk thing is he's very. We talked about that Raw promo not being authentic Punk. It was something was weird. The fire wasn't behind the eyes. He was whatever. He's authentic again. But I think now he's authentically inauthentic, if that makes sense. Where I believe that he's got his, you said his fastball, whatever you want to call it. Like he feels like he's back on track a little bit. He feels like he's enjoying where he's working right now. That Raw promo, I wasn't sure. That Raw promo, it felt like he came out there and was like, "Oh, I've made a grave mistake. I shouldn't have done this." I don't think he thinks that anymore. I think he's jumped in the deep end. He's all in. He's all about it. But I can't help but think that he's either. It's one of two things. He's either working, and this is all the big story for him to then become a hated heel that we've talked about from the beginning. Is probably the money is him being the hated heel that all the people in WWE say, fuck this guy, we don't want this guy around anymore. And he's playing Mr. Nice Guy and helping everybody out and shaking every hand and kissing all the babies and taking all the selfies and doing all that sort of stuff. And it's all just going to lead to him, saying, fuck all this, screw all you, all this sort of stuff. That feels like what it's going to be. But I also do wonder if he's also come to the realization that, look, I have nothing left. This is it. So I better be a nice guy, a good soldier, be all happy-go-lucky, do all the things I'm supposed to do because this is my only path forward. There's nothing else for me in this business if I don't act right. And I do wonder if there's a little bit of that. And that will be, and you can be that way. I know that's not the true CM Punk. I know that's probably not what the guy is going to be, but maybe that's what he is now. Maybe that's deep down he's had to swallow his pride and say, you know what, this is it for me. So fuck it, I'll go out and talk about the WWE Universe and take selfies with Shawn Michaels. Fine, whatever. Because I got nothing else in this business, so I might as well do it. So I'm of one of two thoughts. He's either done that and swallowed his pride and said, fuck it, this is all I have left, or this is a long play for him to eventually drop the Mr. Nice Guy act and just become a total asshole in character and maybe let out the real CM Punk that we know is in there deep down. I don't know. I don't know. And there's also the idea, too, that that first thing that I'm talking about, the asshole that rants on the company, all that sort of stuff, is that going to work for this fan base right now? And I'm still undecided on that because there's times where Punk comes out there and it's like, these fans get it, these fans know it, they know who he is, they know all this sort of stuff. But then you go to the SmackDown promo that you talked about, which is a really, really good promo. And he made a reference about punching your coworkers. Nobody reacted. Nobody said a thing. And I know that was at an army base or whatever, so people could say, oh, well, those people don't know or whatever. Every one of his little like backstage quips, his little, wink, wink, nudge, nudge lines that he's had, none of them have gotten over. Not one has gotten over. The NXT one about him and Shawn Michaels, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and his Hitman jacket didn't get over. His fighting guys backstage thing didn't get over. His, he did his Nashville Predators, I'm a Blackhawks fan thing, didn't get over. Like, I just don't know if he is going to connect with the fan base the way that he wants to connect with the fan base and the way that they want this story to connect with them, because they're clearly telling the Seth is the WWE defender, CM Punk's the outsider, but I don't know that fans care that much about that. And if they do, they're going to side with Seth Rollins 100% of the time, so that you're going to have to then kind of pivot the CM Punk away from the happy-go-lucky, I'm just happy to be here guy into a little bit more of an edgier, asshole sort of character or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what it is. What do you lean to? Do you lean that this is all part of this character, or do you think that he's just seen the end of the line and says, fuck it, I got to be a good soldier now because there's nothing else for me to do?
Well, this company sucks is going to get you heat with those fans now because they like the company. Whereas years ago, that was a way to get cheered.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, I don't know. I think that, I just think the guy's full of shit, and I think that right now he's happy to be there. And I think there's an element of, this is kind of my last stand.
Yeah.
I wouldn't write off him going back to AEW. I don't know. Like, obviously not next week, not next year. This is pro wrestling. If time and business can heal a lot of wounds in pro wrestling, and you don't know what pro wrestling is going to look like in 2 years, let alone 5 years. Right. And I don't think it's impossible that he would, but the thing with Punk is he's running out of years. He's 45 years old.
And that's what I think. I think he's staring down and thinking the Punk that I've seen so far, the authentically inauthentic Punk, is a guy that's realizing I'm not going to be able to go much longer, and I need to figure out what my next path is going to be. And if I want to still work in this wrestling business, the only business I've ever worked in, I better be Mr. Nice Guy and shake all the hands and kiss all the babies or whatever, because that's the only path forward. Because if I act up or do my normal Punk thing and they fire me, that's it. You know what I mean? That's it. I can maybe walk into this company, that company, or whatever, but I think he's maybe looking at the writing on the wall and saying, having a backstage role in this company wouldn't be the worst thing for, me, a 50-year-old me. And whether that'll work out or not, he's quite delusional in a lot of ways. I don't think that would work out. I don't know that, but then he's getting the people to go out there and say that, hey, CM Punk would love to run NXT at some point. And it's just, to me, it all reads as kind of like you said, he's full of shit, but in a way he's doing it authentically. He's doing what that company wants him to do. And I think he's going to be the good little soldier for as long as he can stand it, which for CM Punk, tends to not be very long. And we'll see if that the eruption happens.
Everything's great with him while they're rolling out the red carpet, and it's the honeymoon phase. But as soon as they start telling him no, and as soon as things don't go the way he wants them to go in programs or whatever,
or somebody stiffs him or something, or somebody,
he is who he is. Or if there's some perceived slight, it's just, we all know how this ends. How many times have you and I had this conversation?
At least 5, I think.
We know how this ends. So right now it's all good. And and he probably also, he's a manipulator and he's a worker and he's a pro wrestler, and he probably really does want that WrestleMania main event. And he knows if he can keep his nose clean for another 3 months, he's going to get it. So that's probably his goal right now. Be nice, shake hands. The people who don't like me in the back, steer clear of them for now. Get that WrestleMania main event under my belt. Then I can throw my weight around a little.
Yeah, so far, all the people that quote unquote hated him, he's basically already worked with all of them, right? Like, Steen was, I guess Zayn would be the one. Sami Zayn is he's gone with this. But, Steen was doing the thing about, oh, he's not a good, I don't really want to work with him or whatever. And then he did a backstage segment with him. Seth was publicly, now he's done something with him. Drew, it remains to be seen about Drew, because Drew's kind of out there publicly. There's Cody and a few other guys. But yeah, most of those guys have just kind of said, fuck it, whatever, who cares? You know what I mean? Like,
Cody's an interesting one because Cody still has loyalty to the Bucks. And that's an interesting one from that standpoint. He still has loyalty to the Bucks and the Elite, and or at least we think, and or at least he wants to make us think he does.
Yes, the perception that he does.
Right. And because Cody is going back to AEW someday. Will it be a year and a half when his deal is up? Maybe. Will it be after a second deal? But when you really think about it, what's the biggest jump that can occur now? It's Cody going back to AEW. That would be enormous. And if Cody, who's very smart about these things, if he's coming up on his 3-year deal and he feels like the timing feels right for that, he'll do it. Unless, now here's the caveat, unless there is some untenable personal issue between him and Tony Khan that both of them refuse to talk about, because we can't account for that. Right. But if that's not the case, and the split really was just business, I think I would put the odds at 100% that he'll be back there someday. That's just how these things go. And he knows that's the biggest thing that can happen in wrestling right now is him returning. And if the timing is right for that in a year and a half, and there's not some other personal barrier, I think he'll do it. And you know, his "I'm home" speech will blow away CM Punk's "I'm home" speech. I can promise you that. You know,
right,
I can picture
because he
Cody
helped
right now
form this company. So yeah, his
It'll
"I'm
be
home"
genuine.
is going to be and yeah.
Yeah. And you do it in Jacksonville, you do it in Daly's place, right? You can picture it. And, you know, it would be enormous. And it could swing things the way it swung things the first time when he left. And Cody knows that. He holds a lot of the cards here. You know, and he's someone who does think 2-3 steps ahead like that. So, you know, I don't even know how I got on that. But yeah, Punk right now, he probably... It's tunnel vision. Let me get that Mania main event. Let me get night 1 of the 4-night buy one, get one free extravaganza under my belt. And, you know, if I could survive till then, and I'm sure he's having a shit ton of fun. Look, this is all also turning the screw into Tony Khan.
Of course.
Right now. That's what this is. That's what a lot of this is. It's a lot of money. It's sticking it to Khan. If he can get, if he's even partially responsible for a television deal with WBD and forcing Khan to switch networks, oh my God, is that like the CM Punk fucking wet dream right now? You know? So, you know, from that standpoint, because not even just Khan, the Bucks, Hangman, all of them. He don't like any of them motherfuckers. So, you know, Jack Perry, throw him in the mix. But, you know, MJF, believe me, that's a little frosty. Those tales will be told someday. Today's not that day, you know? So it's, you know, that's what he's doing right now. He's turning the screw, you know, that's Punk, you know, and if he has to be PG Punk now to do that, which is what he's become, ironically enough, he'll do that. He'll play the game. And right now he's playing the game.
Right. And he's got to play the game right now. And that's exactly my thought on it more, because I see some people saying, oh, this is all just 4D chess and that. I just think he's just being the good soldier for right now and just going to do whatever they tell him and be the happy-go-lucky guy and be PG Punk, like you said, and smile and kiss the babies and take the selfies and do all that sort of stuff. Wear the WWE branded T-shirts in the ring to do his promos and talk about the WWE universe and talk about the Royal Rumble match and stuff. Like, he's just, you know, again, he's authentically inauthentic now, and that might just be what he is now. And that might just be what he is right now. And you know what? He's still at Punk, completely devoid of any soul or purpose, is still 1,000 times better than most other people on that roster, which is pretty telling.
You know, it's crazy that Cody, who's the biggest worker of them all, okay?
Well, he's his dad's son, man. I mean, he grew up in the how many guys are still left in this business that grew up in the territories? Now think about that. There's not many. And he saw his dad bounce from territory to territory whenever it was advantageous to him, and anytime it was a good idea to leave and go somewhere else, he left and went somewhere else, or his colleagues left and went somewhere else. His friends, his dad's friends, the people that he talked to in the road, things were getting a little stale here or there. Boom, you go here, you make more money. Boom, you go here, you make more money. Boom, you go here. You always moved. You moved around because that's staying in one place, staying in one territory for 20 years wasn't good. It wasn't going to make you the most money. It wasn't going to get you the most over. It was bouncing, leaving, going back, coming back. I mean, Dusty came and went from Florida 1,000 times. He came and went from Crockett 1,000 times. You know what I mean? That's what the game was, and you were smart to do it.
Yeah, my point here though is that Cody, who's the biggest worker of them all, it's amazing how he retained more of the facade of his authenticity when he jumped and Punk did. Cody's like the same exact guy on screen that he was in AEW. Nothing has changed.
No, the suits. You know what he does? He wears the suits. That's why. He doesn't have to wear a Cody Rhodes shirt, you know what I mean, to the ring.
Yeah, that is part of it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that's part of it. But his presentation, the way he presents himself, everything, it's the same Cody you saw in AEW, which is the same Cody you saw in ROH. It's the same guy. And, you know, he's a worker, don't get me wrong. Punk, it's like this artificial, slightly off version of Punk in
right.
WWE. We know this isn't really him. You know what I mean? It's
oh, come on, saying, I respect you, Shawn Michaels. Let's take a selfie while he's wearing his Bret the Hitman Hart hoodie. It's like, oh, come on.
it's like a version of who, but he has to come out in the plain white t-shirts and not like his favorite band, or whatever social cause he wants to get backpats for that week. It's like he has to wear
the Hell Froze Over shirt, the WWE shop.
Well, yeah,
voicesofwrestling.com/WWE shop branded Hell Froze Over t-shirts that he has to come out to the ring every time.
Now he wears the official merch, but the first appearance was like the plain white t-shirt.
Yes.
And he clearly had the haircut from the WWE hairstylist.
right.
And it's something's a little off. He's become one of their cartoons, a version of himself. It's like where Cody retained that authenticity, quote unquote, because we all know that's also like he's also a gimmick and a worker. But you understand what I'm saying. It's like Cody remains Cody. Punk is like this he's like a 78% version of Punk.
Right.
He's
the AI. He's the you downloaded parts of CM Punk and then input them to another person, and it's not quite there. It's got some of the mannerisms, but it didn't quite download perfectly. It's kind of,
and he knows if he wants that Mania main event, he's got to play the game. And and that's what he's gonna do. And he's gonna, and he's doing the same thing he did in AEW. He's gonna go down to the PC and he's gonna take a picture with Nikita Lyons, and just like
and
when he went to
Perez
AEW,
and Cora Jade. He's taking like 7 photos with Cora Jade. We get it, Pal. Young wrestlers, we got it. Young wrestlers, you're mentoring young wrestlers. We got it, buddy. We get it.
Right, just he's friendly, and he's great. He wants to take over NXT and help the new generation and everything. Maybe he really meant that in AEW. I don't think that, maybe he means it now, but we all know he's incapable.
He's Phil Brooks, though.
He's incapable of this. Okay. We all know this, and it's all going to come crashing down at some point, but he's going to play this smart, and he wants to stick at the con. And it's a lot of moving parts here. So that's my take on Punk. Now, as far as the NXT show
let's get there. Let's go to NXT Deadline, folks. WWPLE from Peacock. Deadline spelled with a 1 instead of an I.
So let's just talk. Let's go right to that segment, because so he does this segment with Shawn Michaels, and he comes out and he brings Shawn Michaels out. And as you alluded to, okay, Shawn Michaels, first of all, I know that this man has allegedly changed his life and taken on Christianity, and he's a soldier of the Lord, and his days are behind him. But I mean, if you would have told me that he did every drug on the table before he came out for this segment, I would have believed you. What the fuck is wrong?
This was 1996 Michael Hickenbottom here for sure. Go ahead.
Was he in the back with Marty Jannetty, like dropping stuff in people's drinks, like before he came? Like, what's the deal with this guy?
I have no idea. Yeah,
because zoned out. He's
I don't know what was going on.
There's something off with him. He's just, but he he immediately forgets what he's supposed to say.
Right. He goes, hey, we're here at NXT Deadline.
Not even. No, he didn't. He literally said, Punk said something to him, and Michaels literally said, I forgot. He said, I forgot in the ring.
Right, he did. I thought he at least did his customary, we're here at Deadline. Oh, he said nothing.
No, he comes out. Punk goes, what do you
see? I thought Michaels came out first and did the customary are you ready? No, because he tried to do the are you ready thing.
Right, I'm talking about when Punk said to him, "What are you gonna do now? Point at your crotch and say suck it?" And he was like, I forgot. He didn't know he forgot what they were gonna do. He literally said, "I forgot." And then Michaels does the thing with the hoodie, because Punk is wearing the Bret Hart hoodie. And he says, makes a joke about the hoodie. And this is what you said before. The fans didn't get it. The people in that building, the vast majority of them had no clue that was a reference to the heat, the old heat between Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Just like the vast majority of the people at SmackDown didn't understand the Punk joke when he talked about punching people in the back. And Punk was so surprised by that he kept trying to tell that joke. Right. and the collar tug. Why am I not getting a reaction? This is a great line. And it was a great line, but nobody understood it. And it really just sinks in.
This Shawn Michaels hit that floored me. I was just like, oh my God, we've reached the point where we've been asking as wrestling people, when are people going to get over the Montreal Screwjob? When are people going to get over Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. Was it a work? We're there, pal. We're there because this NXT audience, CM Punk is wearing a pink hoodie that says Hitman and says, "Sorry, Shawn, I'm wearing the wrong hoodie." And Shawn says something essentially like, "Oh, well, yeah, it happens." And then they wait.
Sean he pointed it. Yeah.
And then they wait for like the reaction.
No reaction.
Nothing. Crickets.
Which leads me, this is my, like, who are these fucking fans who go to these shows now? These are like, what world are they in where they don't know about CM Punk punching people in the back? They aren't aware of Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart's history. These WWE fans are like created in a lab. They're like sea monkeys. These are like, did they breed these fans in a fucking lab and just keep them in a bubble where they're not exposed to anything else going on around them or the history of the company even or what Punk was doing in AEW? These fans are fucking sea monkeys, Rich. I don't understand who these people are. And we talked about it last week. They're adults too. It's not like they're children. These are like 40-year-old men in the fucking audience. How do you not know that Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels have this long history?
We've reached that point. We've finally reached the point where people are going to not worry about Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels anymore. The problem is they're not worrying about it. They don't know what it is. They have no fucking idea.
They don't have no clue. They don't know that Punk.
The most popular, the biggest wrestling story of all time, and these fans whoosh right over their head. So they can go yeet, 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 and share Samantha Irvin TikTok videos with each other. That's what we've created. Those are the fans now.
It's crazy. I don't know who the fuck these people are. They don't know why Punk is there. They don't know how Punk got there.
No, they have no idea. It's just Punk showed up. A bunch of other people cheer, so they go, "Yeah, see a Punk," and then he makes these references, and they have no idea what these references are.
They don't know how he got there. They think one day he just said, "Well, I'm going to head over to WWE now." These people are clueless. And
he got up from the couch, cracked his back, and said, time to go back to WWE after 10 years.
Yeah. But then, like you said, Jey Uso will come out and all in unison, 10,000 people. Yeet, yeet, yeet.
Oh.
It's fucking incredible. That's their fan base now, and I think that's taken Punk aback.
It has every time he does these little promo things, and he thinks he's going to get. That's been the most fascinating thing to watch. Is he hits these lines, he's like nailed it, and then he waits and gets nothing, and then it just is like because he's kind of thrown off a little bit. And even Shawn Michaels, I think, was a little. I mean, he was completely thrown off by everything. Just the whole existence, his whole existence was throwing him off on this night. But he has one of the worst segments you'll ever see. This week, I guess. Well, no.
No.
I'm sorry, because then on Dynamite, something was much worse, I think. But...
No, I disagree. This was way worse than the Dynamite segment. This was...
Oh.
The Dynamite segment bombed, but this was Shawn Michaels, just a non-participant, felt like he didn't know where he was, like he was on another planet, like he was high or something. And then CM Punk being forced to do the segment by himself because Shawn forgot what they were supposed to be doing out there. And then even at the end of it, Punk puts his arm around him and he goes, "Well, you didn't remember any of your lines, but we had a good time out." It's like he acknowledged
right.
that Shawn had no clue what the fuck was going on.
Right. Can I get a selfie?
Shawn Michaels,
can I get a selfie? And then Shawn Michaels, his dopey face. It's like, taking their selfie.
How is this guy booking NXT? I don't even feel like he knows where he is. Like, I feel like if you asked him what year it was, he'd be like, I don't know, 2017. Like, he's fucking completely out of it. What the fuck is with this guy?
I don't know. It was. I don't know if I can call this worse. I don't know if I can call this worse than the Dynamite segment because this was just one person not knowing what they were doing, whereas the Dynamite segment felt like four people all doing different things in the same segment.
At least the Dynamite segment, very poorly built to a match.
Oh, did it?
Between
the Winnipeg Jets and Big Billy Starks or whatever.
Well, you know what
Kenny. Honestly, Kenny made that so much worse by just not having.
Let me tell you something. Kenny Omega was by far the worst person in that segment.
Absolutely, 100%. Far and away. Didn't know anything. Didn't know the name of his team. Didn't know a thing.
He's so not invested. He doesn't care. Like Jericho's jokes bombed. Okay, no doubt about it. I don't like Big Bill and Starks. They were like victims. Like I don't even blame them that much.
They were fine. Yeah, Big Bill had his one little line or whatever. He got it out. Starks, that last line the last bit that he had was great.
Some fire at the end.
He was like, this thing's bombing. I got to just do my Ricky Starks thing. And then he went out there for 3 minutes, just went on a big rampage and a rant and did it. But yeah, Jericho did some terrible jokes that didn't get over. And then Kenny was just like in his basketball shorts and his t-shirt, just like.
Yeah.
Like they were going over the promo before, and he's like, I'll call it in the ring, whatever. And he doesn't know what his team name is, who they're facing, what the story is. Knows nothing.
You're joking, but that's exactly how the segment went.
Right.
But he doesn't even know the name of the tag team. And when he was doing the whole goodbye and goodnight thing, that was such secondhand embarrassment. It felt like it took him an hour to get that final line out with the goodnight and goodbye and the bang or whatever. I bid you adieu, and I bid the crowd adieu, and I bid Chris Jericho adieu.
We heard you. Spit it out.
He's like, I think he's still bidding people adieu. Like he's just so awkward. He was awful. But Shawn Michaels was somehow worse than even Kenny Omega was in that segment, because I'm not sure Shawn Michaels understood that he was in a ring on live TV on a live show with a camera. He was just completely out of it. I mean, I wouldn't, I know it's not the case, but it would, would you be surprised if you found out he popped fucking 40 Xanax before he went out there like it's 1997.
Yeah.
Like he's just completely out of it. It was so bad. It was complete. And Punk knew it was awful. And Punk he wrapped it up himself. Put his arm around him. He's like, well, Sean, this didn't go as planned, and you don't know what the hell's going on here, but let's take a selfie and then it didn't accomplish anything. Like, what was the point? The point was just to get Punk out there.
Yeah.
And Michaels just, whatever they had planned, went out the fucking window because this guy doesn't know what fucking year it is. But this whole NXT show. I mean, listen, here's the thing. People say to us, Rich, why do you guys review NXT? You never like it. You think it's terrible. You're miserable.
Right, it makes you miserable. You're miserable. It makes you miserable. You hate to do it.
We have to do this because somebody has to speak the truth about these awful NXT shows. I am so tired of people not burying these shows. They're always atrocious. They're not bad. They're always atrocious. This one, again, was terrible. Wasn't the worst. There's been worse.
There's been worse.
Halloween Havocs. Those Halloween Havocs are always worse. But the fact that people don't bury these NXT, somebody has to do it. Someone has to speak truth to NXT power and speak the truth about these NXT shows. And if we don't do it, there's no one to do it because people pretend that these shows aren't awful. And I can't allow that. I can't fucking allow it. So now what I'm going to do, and I haven't done this yet, I'm pulling the old cage match up to see what they thought of this show because
they weren't as on board as you might think. They were still on board a bit, but the match that I was worried about, I checked it a little bit earlier because I was assuming you were going to do the gimmick with that steel cage match, but even the inmates hated that steel cage match. So.
Well, I could tell you that the 7.44 for the show is
it's
fucking
absurd.
egregious.
Absolutely absurd, yeah.
Let's see. I think they got the best match correct, but they way overrated it. 8.77 for the men's Iron Survivor is ridiculous. That's like a Wrestle Kingdom main event score. Come on. It was the best match, I thought, but there were still massive problems with it. Oh my God. 7.47 for the women's Iron Survivor is even worse because that straight up fucking sucked.
That was fucking horrible.
That was legitimately a bad wrestling match. It was bad. And everything else looks like it's
everything else came out okay.
I don't have a problem with the other ratings. We'll go through them as we go through, I guess. But so the kickoff match.
Did you watch the pre-show? Joe, did you watch the pre-show?
I did, and I did, but I know you're doing the bit for the show.
No, because I did too.
But yes, Axiom versus Nathan Fraser. Why isn't it just Fraser? Make it easier for everybody. Like, why does it have to be this awkward Fraser? Frazer. That's not a last name. Like, put the I in there and just make it Fraser so we can all just fucking be normal and not have to force. Like, when you look at that, you want to say Fraser, right? But then your brain wants to say Frazier, but then you have to say Fraser because it's not Frazier. And it fucking bothers me. It bothers me. Watch it be like the last name of like his dead grandfather or something. And that's why he took it. And now I sound like an asshole, but either way, you should stick the I in there. But no, that wasn't a bad little match. Nice little 3.5 star opener for the deadline kickoff.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Fraser is he's solid as hell. He's always been really good. I think he's a complete waste in this company, but whatever. This is what he wants to do. So great, you could be on the deadline kickoff show. And yeah, they had a good little match. 10 minutes. Axiom looked solid. Fraser looked solid, and yeah, I was kind of like, all right, this is a good start. And I didn't anticipate watching this, but this is the first time, and I know you got presented with this as well. Where on Peacock, normally the kickoff show is its own video file. In this case, I went to the NXT Deadline, and they had a kickoff file, and I didn't click the kickoff file. I clicked the main Deadline one, and then it pops up with kickoff show, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm looking at the timeline, and it's 3 hours and 25 minutes, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And then I forward and I forward and I forward. I get through all the dumb pre-show talk. Yeah, I don't need Booker T and Jerry Lawler, giving their predictions for the matches or whatever. And then it pops up, and then a wrestling match is happening. I go, okay, this must be the actual Deadline show. So I'm watching it. It's over. And then we go back to the booth, and I'm like, nah, fuck. God damn it. I watched a kickoff match. I didn't want to. But it was good. It was a good kickoff match. So I didn't really mind that that much. Then we got the actual show itself.
The file was 3 hours, 33 minutes, and 45 seconds because I noted that. And when I put it on, I said, something has to be done because I cannot do a 3 hour and 33-minute NXT show. I'll be hanging from my garage by a noose if I try to watch a 3 hour and 33-minute NXT show. But then, like you, I discovered that included the pre-show. So I was like, okay, all right. So now the pre-show, I did sit there and watch it. Okay, so we have Sam Roberts on the pre-show. We have the guy from the bump. What the hell is that dork's name?
We always make fun of him and we always forget his name. I know who you're talking about, the guy from the bump. WWE's the bump, I should say.
Greg Sanderson or something?
No, Matt Camp. Isn't it Matt Camp?
Matt Camp. That was close. So he's on there, and then some generic woman that they're going to fire in a month or whatever. And I know
it used to be Mackenzie Mitchell or whatever, and then they fired Mackenzie Mitchell and then replaced her with
this one
another random blonde woman that insert innocuous blonde woman here, and then she
don't bother learning her name. I mean, and this Mackenzie Mitchell gets fired, and everybody acts like Diane Sawyer just got fired. Like she's some kind of great broadcast journalist.
Jan Pauley got fired. It's calm down.
Oh my God, they got rid of Mackenzie Mitchell, and my reaction was, who the fuck is Mackenzie Mitchell? Like, who cares? But they got another Mackenzie Mitchell in there or whatever. But there was a Roxanne Perez pre-tape on the pre-show, Rich, and I want you to know that tonight, coming into this steel cage match with Kiana James, I am done. Roxanne Perez is done. I have never been this done. It's exactly what we mocked last week. They really did it. Like, they really did what we mocked. She's like, I am done with Kiana James. Every month, Roxanne Perez is finally pushed over the edge.
I can't go on like this anymore for the last 4 months.
Right.
This has to end tonight. You and me, this has to be the last time you and I face off in the NXT ring. It's like
in a steel cage, a fucking Weapons Wild.
Weapons, and they had the playground, Devil's Playground. Yeah,
the fucking teeter totter, the children's playground with the plastic teeter totter. Don't forget that one. She's always in these death matches because she is just
I call them death matches. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I call these death matches. Not quite.
They are
not quite Jun Kasai out there. Not quite.
I'm sorry, but that's how they present them. These are death matches, Rich, because she is done.
Not exactly Mr. Danger out there.
No, it is. That's exactly what it is. So they come back, and we go to the desk with whoever the blonde is and Sam Roberts. And Sam Roberts goes, can I just take a minute to talk about the edginess of Roxanne Perez? And I'm just thinking of you, Rich. The edginess of Roxanne Perez. Sam Roberts is just, he knows. And then he goes on to talk about how we're going to get a different Roxanne Perez tonight.
Jesus Christ.
This is This is
Groundhog
every
Day.
month.
It's Groundhog Day. What the fuck?
Every goddamn month, she's been pushed over the edge, and she gets into one of these fucking plastic death matches. You know what NXT is?
It's
You know what
fucking
this shit is?
It's fucking shit.
It's like if Disney Channel did a wrestling promotion, and it was like, and they had their Disney stars, and
Right, and it aired at 4 p.m. It aired on 4 p.m. on a weekday or whatever.
Yeah, right after Double Dare, where they're pulling fucking flags out of giant noses, out of the boogers, and then it's time for Disney Channel fucking wrestling with Roxanne Perez, who's been pushed over the edge, and she has a steel cage match with no violence at all, with no violence whatsoever, right? And we have to listen to Sam Roberts talk about how her edginess. It's just it's awful. It's so awful. Did you notice that Braun Breakout also has the Carlos Boozer beard on his face?
Yes. What is with the new revolution of we got Lexis King has the Carlos Boozer beard.
Yes.
Braun Breaker has the Carlos Boozer beard. What are we doing? Why are we doing this?
Why do all these guys have these weird shadow beards? Like, is this big with the Gen Z kids, Rich? Is this something that we're whiffing on?
Oh,
the thing
maybe.
is, Brian.
Shit.
But here's the thing: Brian Pillman's like 40,
Right, and he's the least cool human on earth. So
right, so that doesn't add up. Like he does not have a cool bone in his body. He's way too old to do things that are cool. So I don't think that's it. I think
I'm pretty sure he's actually older than me. If I think about it, he's either the same
like
age.
35.
He's either the same age as me or older than me. Oh, he's 30 somehow. He's the oldest 30-year-old in the world. Wow, he's only 30. Unbelievable. Okay.
All right. Well, he's still a dork.
He's still an absolute dork.
It's like he's still too old to be like doing cool things though. If he's 30, so like Braun Breaker's what, like 24 or something. Or whatever the fuck he is.
This doesn't have to do with the show. Did you watch the Ava Raine and Brian Pillman Jr. segment from NXT?
Yeah.
So, by the way, Ava Raine, the Rock's daughter, she's left the sex cult and now she's like an authority figure for some reason. I don't know why. I guess they have absolutely nothing left for her to do, so now they've decided she's an authority figure.
Yeah, she's terrible too.
She's so fucking terrible. So
she's completely useless.
So she's backstage. She's always, every time she talks, she's about to laugh. You know what I mean? She's like the worst SNL character that just can't get through any of the bits. And it's like, all right, you got to be able to get through some of these bits without like you're about to laugh every single time. We got to be able to get through one of these bits. So she's backstage, in the NXT locker room or whatever, her office that says Ava Raine on it or whatever. And Brian Pillman Jr. attacked some random person in the Breakout tournament or whatever. And, Brian Pillman enters the frame. And if people haven't seen this, you have to watch this. You have to watch it. So much so, hold on a minute. I got to see if this thing is unavailable on YouTube. You're not going to be able to hear it, Joe, but I got to find out if this thing. One sec. It has to be heard by the masses. Because, again, people will say this show is good, right? We can't let that happen anymore. Yeah. We have to stop letting people say that this show is good. Let me see if I can find this Ava Raine, Brian. I can't believe I'm calling Ava Raine, and I keep calling him Brian Pillman Jr., Lexis King, and Ava Raine.
And listen, and I take exception to something you said there. You said he replaced a random person. He didn't replace a random person in the NXT tournament.
Right. It was something.
Okay,
it was
replaced
like Bear Claw.
He replaced Trey Bearhill, sir.
Of course.
And I demand that you put respect on the name Trey Bearhill and give him respect.
A vicious attack
that Trey Bearhill deserves.
Okay, so I have this segment here, Joe. You won't unfortunately be able to hear it, but I'll play it for the audience here. Because again, people will say the show is good, and this is the show that people think is good. So here it is.
Yeah, if I were you, I wouldn't go in there. Everyone in the tournament wants a piece of you.
As per usual.
No, Lexis, they want you in the tournament so they can kick your ass.
Well then, mission accomplished, Ava. See, I make moments happen on NXT. And I get it, you're fired up, you're a little flustered. Because you're in the presence of a superstar like myself. But don't sweat it, it's completely natural. Besides, you're not the first and you definitely won't be the last.
Yeah, so since you're still new around here, it's official. You'll be replacing Trey Bearhill in the men's Breakout tournament.
You don't say. Lexis King in the Breakout tournament. You just made my night, sweetheart. I will see you around.
Yeah.
So bad. Okay, so the best part of that entire thing is Ava Raine going like, Lexis King, everybody wants to kill you and hurt you. And there's like a weird pause, and then Lexis King goes, as per usual, like the least cool way ever.
As per usual.
It's like, oh, God. And
okay, since you're new around here, you will be replacing Trey Bearhill. And like, what's wrong with her?
I don't know. It's so bad.
What's wrong with these people?
And
Why can't they just talk?
There was a weird insinuation that Brian Pillman wanted to fuck her as well. There was a lot of like, you're not the first and you won't be the last. And then he's like, see you later, sweetheart. And I was like, okay.
His fans are the Lex offenders. So,
yeah, right. So we got some bubbling sexual tension here going on between Ava Raine and Lexis King. But yeah, that's the show that people call good, by the way. And then Lexis King left the frame, and then the camera stayed on Ava Raine for an impossibly long amount of time
while she stares off into nowhere.
Right. And then
an impossible amount of time. Just I don't know how they do that gaze for as long as they do the gaze. Like, is there a target that they're looking at, or like, I don't know. So he replaces Trey Bearhill in the men's breakout tournament, a tournament, Rich, with all the stars.
Oh, God. Do you have the lineup? You got the lineup?
Oh, I sure do, Rich.
Let's go. NXT breakout tournament lineup. Yes.
I mean, it's all the stars. I have them committed to memory. Trey Bearhill, Riley Osborne, Dion Lennox. Didn't they already have a Dion Lennox?
I believe they had they had a Lennox for sure.
Keanu Carver, all the stars, Rich. All the stars. Oba Femi, Rich. Miles Bourne. Tavion Heights, which sounds like a suburb on the outskirts of Cleveland. Tavion Heights.
Tavion Heights sounds like the bit player of like a basketball movie. Like what was it? It's like a Keanu Reeves. It's not Hardball. I know that's not the movie. What was the one? Coach Carter. Coach Carter. Remember the one with Samuel L. Jackson where he
Coach Carter?
Yeah, and like the fourth guy on the team is Tavion Heights or whatever. And it's
maybe the love interest of Juwanna Mann, right? Like something like that.
Heights, yeah, right. Played by Donald Faison or whatever. Yeah,
yes,
perfect.
Always Donald Faison. Absolutely. Donald Faison as Tavion Heights. Yes. But Juwanna Mann can't reveal that she's really a woman, right. But she has a crush on Tavion Heights. Like that's where they got that. And I saved the best for last.
By the way, are we playing the game? Am I supposed to guess which one of these are real and which ones are fake?
Listen, I can't even fake ones as good as this. So, and then I saved the best for last. This man, Rich, is a lawyer, but he's also an Italian. So we're hitting off a lot of pro wrestling stereotypes here. Luca Crucifino, who you know how he's a lawyer, Rich? It says the legal eagle on his cufflink on his yes. So
isn't that Drew Gulak? What the fuck are we doing here? Hold on a minute.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when Rick Martel became the model. He wore a giant button that said, "Yes, I am a model." So
right, in case you weren't sure.
Supposed to be right. In case you weren't sure what the gimmick was and you knew he was supposed to be a model, he had a giant button that said, "Yes, I am a model." Well, this Luca Crucifino wears a suit, and on his cuff it says "The Legal Eagle," Luca Crucifino. I wonder, does Drew Gulak get offended?
That's what I said. What Gulak cannot stand for this, right? There's no way.
Well, he's mentoring this Luca Crucifino. He says he gets judgments in the courtroom and he's going to pass judgment on the NXT superstars. So that's the breakout tournament with all the stars, but no Trey Bearhill. No Trey Bearhill, sir. He has been replaced by Lexis King. It looks like Riley Osborne and Oba Femi have gotten to the finals.
Femi.
Yes. Lexis King attacked Trey Bearhill with a chair and replaced him in the tournament. That doesn't seem fair. That doesn't.
Yeah, Ava just let it happen though. Her leadership is definitely being called into question, especially so soon after being part of a devious sex cult or whatever the hell that thing was. Quickly on, they've let her just become an authority figure. So I don't know.
Well, what else can they do with her? She can't wrestle.
Well, I mean, in kayfabe,
right?
it seems suspect that this person that was running the ruckshaw of the company with her sex cult is now just
That's true.
assumed power. Yeah.
She wasn't a cult. She the problem though is like she talks worse than she wrestles.
Yeah,
so the authority
right.
But she's the Rock's daughter, and they can't fire her.
They're trying something. They're trying anything, but man, I don't know.
They're stuck with her. But she'll get over. Everybody does. Like the sea monkeys in these that are these WWE fans. It doesn't matter, Rich.
No.
She's gonna get over. They react. They eat up all the fucking slop. They take their fucking spoon and their knife and their fork, and they eat all the fucking slop that they're fed by this fucking company. It's over, Rich. We're on the losing team.
We've lost. Yeah, and we're. Are we losing? We are fucking losing now.
Oh God, we're getting. Yeah, I mean they're keeping the starters in.
Yeah, we're getting
they're
steamrolled.
up 40 in the fourth.
Yeah.
So that's the NXT Breakout tournament, and that was the pre-show. So we open up with Axia. No, we open up with Dragon Lee versus Dom Mysterio with Rey Mysterio on commentary. Now, I talked about this when Dragon Lee faced Santos Escobar on whatever other pay-per-view that was. I think that was a main roster pay-per-view, wasn't it?
That was Survivor. Survivor Series, right? I think they were on Survivor Series.
So Dom is out here just being Dom. He can't do anything, and he doesn't have any talent. So
right. He does some things, but the things he does at like half speed.
You know what he wrestles like? You know what he is? He wrestles like a 1988 house show. He puts a guy in a side headlock, and then they get the crowd to do the claps. Then when Dragon Lee stands up, he pulls him down by the back of the mask, and then puts him back in the side headlock like that because he can't do anything else. But my issue here is why even sign a guy like Dragon Lee if you're going to have him work matches like this? Like, what's the point of having Dragon Lee? You can take any of the dopey college football players in the PC,
Tavion Walker or whatever his name was. He could do this.
Take Tavion Heights and throw a mask on him, and and he can go out there with all gimmicked up and do these, perfunctory 1988 house show matches. You don't need Dragon Lee for that. Like, why sign Dragon Lee if you're not going to let him be Dragon Lee?
Right. He does that one tope. He does that one tope every match, and that gets over, and that's cool spot or whatever. Other than that, he is just he is every other route. You could have thrown any guy in a mask and had them work this exact match.
Yeah. And he goes out there and has a 2.5-star match and doesn't. Now it's good for him because it's easier on his body, and I could see why he came here. But like, why do they want him? Like, this could be anyone. It's actually it doesn't add up to me. Like, I don't understand the point. Now I figured out the perfect comp for Dom Mysterio. I know exactly who this guy is.
Oh man, all right. Let's see.
He wrestles just like this man. Same style. In fact, this match against Dragon Lee, I have seen the man I'm about to compare him to have the exact same match. You know who Dom Mysterio is? He's Dangerous Danny Davis.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's Dangerous Danny Davis, who did the heel referee gimmick, and then he joined Jimmy Hart's stable, and he wrestled in the fucking with the stripes. The
yeah.
And he was terrible. Like,
he was not good. He couldn't really do anything. He had 2 left feet.
And Dom Mysterio, I'm telling you right now, I'm telling all listeners, I'm telling you, when this show's over, go on YouTube and watch any Dangerous Danny Davis versus Sam Houston house show match from 1988. And that was Dom versus Dragon Lee on this show. The same fucking match. Side headlock, crowd claps, yank him down by the hair, rinse, repeat. Do that 4 or 5 times. Wait for the ref to say it's time to go home, and then hit your finish. Dom is fucking Dangerous Danny Davis. That's who he is. He's a guy who with limited ability, who just goes out there and he gets some heat, and part of the heat that he gets is because everybody knows he sucks. That's part of the whole deal. You know what I mean? And that's what they went out. This was a Dangerous Danny Davis Sam Houston match from 1988 in the Boston Garden is what this was. And that's what Dom does. And I don't understand why you sign a guy like Dragon Lee if that's what you're going to do with him. Let him be Dragon Lee, or what the fuck's the point? You can just recruit someone. You know, if maybe they want an authentic Mexican star, well, then put a Mexican guy under a mask and let him do his kind of, like, I don't understand.
Yeah, he's doing nothing spectacular. He's doing no Dragon Lee type of stuff. Nothing that we have come to know Dragon Lee to do. Anybody could have done this match, like you said. Other than that one tope that he does and that one, the flippy do that he does, it is good and it's spectacular. Other than that, he's pretty much just working. Yeah, like you said, any guy could fit in this exact role at this exact match. I mean, just heat. Dom getting the heat, like you said. Side headlock, pull the mask down. Side headlock, pull the mask down. Bump over, shoulder block.
Yeah,
headlock,
roll him up and pin him. Yeah.
And then Dragon Lee does one move and then does a cool move and then he pins him and then it's over. And it's like anybody on earth can do this exact same match. Anybody.
So we have the women's Iron Survivor gimmick.
Can I talk about these Iron Survivor things? Yes,
you floored me.
Because again, we have to do this because nobody else will. I have heard a lot of people over the last week saying, it's amazing how WWE has created a new gimmick match that really works. It just works, this Iron Survivor Challenge match.
Who's saying this?
A bunch of dumb people. Oh, yeah. People that I don't want to name. If it was you would name names. I'm not going to name names. You can find them if you want. These people are lying to you. These gimmick matches suck. This Iron Survivor thing sucks. It's 25 minutes. There's penalty boxes. There's pinfalls. There's all these sort of things. But it falls under the trap that a lot of these WWE gimmick things fall under is during the course of a match, people are being pinned after moves that don't, like someone will do a hip toss and Lash Legend will pin Kalani Jordan. And you're like, well, what? Like, why is Kalani Jordan, was she going to lose normally with a hip toss? And then people go in these penalty boxes and then they're fighting out of the penalty boxes. And then there's all this sort of stuff happening. And then you're guaranteed 25-minute long matches that are not good. Like this women's one was not good, but it had to go 25 minutes. People that are telling you this is a good gimmick match are lying to you. These are not good. The men's match was okay because there was a lot of talented guys in there, and one guy in particular they got behind, and we're going to be right about this, and I'll get to that when we get to it. But this women's match shows how this gimmick match.
That was my talking point.
I know. I circled it, and I said, "Oh, Joe's going to go on a victory lap here," but it's not good. And people that tell you that it's good are lying. It again, it's one of my things that I hate. It falls into the trap of the classic Survivor Series match where normally when we watch these people wrestle, they can go 8 to 10 minutes, and it takes a big-time finishing move for them to lose this match or whatever. In Survivor Series matches, Hacksaw Butch Reed, it would be a body slam, 1, 2, 3, and he'd say, "Yeah, well, not my night," and Raw out of the ring, and he was done or whatever. And it make no sense. That's what this match is too. People are losing with moves they would never lose to. People are just quickly getting these pinfalls here and there, and like. It makes sense in a 2 out of 3 falls match to preserve yourself. Like that's kind of the idea behind a 2 out of 3 falls. And I have beef with 2 out of 3 falls matches a lot as well. But the idea that is, normally you'll be put in a submission, and instead of fighting through the submission, you just say, you know what? I'll tap out, save my arm. It's okay. I'll live to fight. I have another fall or whatever. Or a big pinfall happens and you say, you know what? I'm not going to fight this. I'll take the pinfall. I'll rest up and I'll try to get those next 2 falls or whatever. There's no incentive to lose. Like you don't want to ever lose because when you get pinned or submitted, you go to the penalty box. So it doesn't make sense that you would want to be submitted or you'd want to be pinned or whatever, but people are just losing from normal matches, or normal moves. Like normal moves are happening and people are pinned from them. So that makes no sense at all. I hate that stuff. It kind of ruins my suspension of disbelief. And then these people have to wrestle for 25 minutes and it's the NXT women, so they're doing a whole bunch of shit that doesn't make any sense. Like, they can't do any of this stuff. Poor Kalani Jordan and poor Lash Legend are out there just trying to do whatever spots are being sent to them by these agents that are just... The NXT thing is so weird because these agents, they want the women. Well, you have Dragon Lee, who they don't let do anything. Dragon Lee can't do anything, right. Must be taken to the ground, must have heat given upon him, and then maybe can do like a 450 one time. But then it's like...
Please.
Yeah, right. It'd be great if you could do a 450.
Maybe one dive.
But then we're like, Kalani Jordan, you know what she should do? A springboard moonsault to the outside.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
How many matches have you had in your life? Kalani Jordan 4? Great. Why don't you do a springboard fucking tope to the outside and you and Lash Legend go crashing into the wall? It's like, what the fuck? Like, you have Dragon Lee and you don't let him do anything, but then Kalani Jordan, Lash Legend, and Fallon Henry, the quarterback of the match here, you're allowed to let her just do anything. You know, if Tiffany Stratton wants to do a springboard, fucking whatever, yeah, great, we'll do it. No problem at all. But yeah, Dragon Lee, we got to keep him grounded. It's so weird. But yeah, anybody who tells you this match is good is lying to you. This match sucked. This was not good.
This match was horrible. I mean, okay, Kalani Jordan, maybe she'll become fucking Akira Hokuto. I don't know. Right now, She fucking stinks. I have no idea how they have this person on TV. Rich, she moves around like a fucking sloth. Can she move any slower? And I'm not even just talking about her foot speed. Everything she does is done at like 0.4 speed.
She's clearly still thinking it through.
Her way
yeah,
through
she's
it.
thinking it through. Yes.
She's terrible. She's embarrassingly bad. You can't have her on TV. She is the shits. She's so bad. Lash Legend is still not good. Tiffany Stratton, all right, whatever. You know, she's going to be a star, but she's got a ways to go. Blair Davenport, by far, was the best person in this match.
Yes.
I mean, and it's not even close. Like, you know, and it's just a mess. They just try things that they cannot handle, and it's just they try to do too much. And you're right. Why do they let these people do all of this shit that's way above their head, and Dragon Lee has to sit in a side headlock for 7 minutes? It doesn't make any sense. The way they just think so much of the women on this roster, and none of them can handle what's being thrown at them. It's crazy. And, you know, I know you threw it out there, and I am the one that says name. This John LaRocca, I mean, he put out a tweet, and I know no one pays attention to him, but Fallon Henry, the basis of it was Fallon Henley. It was a good decision to have her start the match because, you know, she's the quarterback that's going to lead everybody through and call all the right plays. What? When did Fallon Henley become fucking Ricky Morton? When did Fallon Henley become Christian? When did Fallon Henley become fucking Ric Flair? Where she's some kind of ring general? Are you kidding me? Fallon Henley stinks. Rich, did you see the first, how many minutes before someone comes in? 5 minutes or whatever it is? Did you see the first 5 minutes of this match with Fallon Henley? She could barely stay on her feet. They tried to do the Guerrero Malenko spot, and they couldn't handle that. They couldn't keep their shoulders on the. It was a fucking mess. This whole thing was a disaster from start to finish. You know, this is terrible. I mean, this is one of the worst matches you'll see. I mean, because these people aren't ready to be on TV.
And it's so ambitious. It's so ambitious. Like the amount of things that they try to stuff into this match. It's because then like the men's match worked very. It was just like heel face, you know, heat shine. Like it was just a basic wrestling match. Dragon Lee and Dominic Mysterio, we just talked about, was heat shine, like basic ass wrestling. And then the women come and they're like, "Fuck it, let's go wild, baby. Let's do everything with these people that can't do anything. What are we doing?"
I know I've made this point, but I know I've made this point before. I have to make it again. I feel like I'm the only one that notices. Do you notice that everyone in this company has the same fucking gear? Like, go back and watch this match. Every woman in this match is wearing the same gear, just different colors. And they all have the studs, like the sequins.
They have studs, and then they all kind of have like
half,
like kind of skirt like.
Yeah, they have subtle differences. Like one person will have something around their thigh, one person will have, but essentially, WWE is so plastic and manufactured and it's just so overproduced that even right down to the fucking gear, you can tell it's all made by the same person and is all like the same version of the same gear that everybody else is wearing. And it's just another one of those little things. People probably think I'm crazy, but it's another one of those things I can't unsee. And it fucking infuriates me because it's just another facet of this company where everything just has to be micromanaged, overproduced, and then everybody comes off the same. Somebody interfered in that cage match that I thought was Tiffany Stratton.
I thought so too, but no, it's another bitchy Barbie character because there can't just be enough bitchy Barbie characters in NXT. That's Izzy Dame, who is not Tiffany Stratton. I thought the same thing. I was like, whoa, it's a weird thing for Tiffany Stratton to do. And they went, Izzy Dame, what's she doing here? I said, who's Izzy Dame? And then she did like the and I was like, wait, we have another bitchy Barbie character? What are we doing?
Yeah, I thought Tiffany Stratton was going to feud with fucking Roxanne Perez.
That's what I thought.
Again.
And then Vic said, "What's Izzy Dame? I can't believe it." And I went, "Oh, Izzy? Oh, okay." I didn't realize that was Izzy Dame, but okay, who is Izzy Dame? I don't know. So yeah, that was quite the revelation for me as well. You know something I noticed, which I wish I didn't notice, and now I can't unnotice it.
What's that?
I think you may have mentioned this, and I feel bad. I feel bad mentioning this to people that haven't seen it. So if you don't want to have every NXT match forever ruined for you, or women's match mostly, skip ahead. I mean, they're mostly ruined anyway because they all suck. But if you still are one of those weird people that likes them, maybe skip ahead 15 seconds, 20 seconds. It'll probably be a while. Skip ahead a minute. They all jump when they punch. Did you know? Have you've noticed that before, right? They all do.
That.
The back heel goes up, and then they go Every time they go, they jump.
Yeah.
So the back heel goes up first before they throw the punch, and then they jump as the punch happens.
It's like all the 6-year-olds in the boys' taekwondo class that I take them 2-3 times a week, where they have to do the little jump punch. Yeah, they all do the little.
Once you notice it, you can't unnotice it. And in this match,
unsee it. Yeah.
It was like they're all doing it at the same time, and I'm like, oh my god, everyone's doing. They're all doing the same spots in the same manner, in the same way. And I'm like, oh no, I hate it. It's all in their fucking gear that looks the same.
It's so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's just, God, it's so bad. It's Disney Channel wrestling. Fucking Disney Channel wrestling.
What about the quarterback Fallon Henley out there? That was a great.
Well, then Cora Jade with her new tits. She got some breast enhancements done.
She did indeed.
And, yes. She did you hear her robotic promo later in the show when she refused to explain her actions to the interview lady that used to be with Ring of Honor, but she has the new name, whatever.
Oh yeah. The red haired one. I forget her name, but yeah.
Like, I'm sure you want me to explain my actions. Why do they talk like fucking androids? Why? And it's obviously taught.
Yeah, of course.
But why do they teach them to speak like androids? I don't understand. Why can't Cora Jade just go out there and talk like a fucking, like she talks and get her, you know what I mean? Awful. You know, I wonder, I am baffled that more breast implants don't explode in pro wrestling. Like we hear about it now and then, right? Like you'll read in the Observer, so-and-so had a implant malfunction or an implant explode and they got to get, you know, the surgery redone and they're out for a couple months. My wife has fake hoots, as longtime listeners might know. Okay. I was very excited about that surgery at the time and I talked about it like every week. So my wife has fake hoots.
You talked about it last week. By the way, you talked about the Dr. Rude.
There you go.
Dr.
That's
Rude.
Right. That's a good point.
Right.
Dr. Rude.
I even know the doctor that did your wife's breast enhancement surgery. That tells you how much you talked about it.
So my wife has fake hoots, and I got to tell you, for like the first 2 years, I handled those things like they were active bombs. I was terrified.
Working soft, yeah, just in case.
I was working so light with those fake hoots because I was terrified I'm gonna break them.
You're Lance Storm out there. Lance Storm in the bedroom.
I'm scared I'm gonna feel the seam. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, oh no, I don't want to break the hoots. You know, to the point where she gets agitated. She's like, fucking squeeze them. Come on, you know, slap them around, do something. And like I was terrified of those fucking things. I'm still a little scared of them. How all these women have the fake hoots? How do we not have more breast implants exploding in these matches when they're doing moonsaults on top of each other's chests and fucking overhand chops and everything else? I'm amazed by that. I don't know. Maybe maybe the fake hoots aren't as fragile as I think they are.
Yeah, maybe not today's. Maybe they've gotten better at hoot technology. I'm not sure. Maybe. But yeah, Cora came out, knocked somebody. She knocked who'd she knock out? I think she knocked out Blair Davenport or something, and then held the title over her head and made faces and stuff. So yeah, whatever.
Yeah, the robot promo. Carmelo Hayes versus Lexis King. So, man, you know,
I was gonna say, do you want to roll this into the next match? Because I think we can combine these two.
So he wins the match, and then Lexis King grabs the mic. I may have lost the match, but it's like total loser shit. Like
the best part of the entire promo, he goes, "Thanks for the PLE spotlight, Carmelo." I was like, "Fuck all of this."
Total loser shit. Like,
God. And he goes,
"This is like when
I didn't attack Trick Williams." I was like, okay.
Like he outsmarted Carmelo Hayes, but he lost. You fucking lost. Right. This is loser shit. You worked yourself into a shoot and then lost.
Yeah, Carmelo beat your ass and won a wrestling match. Then he's like,
how are you the smart one here?
Yes.
You know, like, you know what it was? It reminded me of Cedric Alexander posing as a janitor, losing, and then revealing that he was the janitor and acting like he was the smart one. Right. Remember that?
Yes.
Against AJ Styles or whatever.
We were ranting about that for so long, yeah.
Why do they think that this is a good story? Like, all right, so you dressed like a janitor and AJ didn't know it was you, but then you fucking lost anyway. Like what? And then he's like pointing to his temple, like he got the better of him, right? And like this guy, like you didn't outsmart. Like, thanks for the spot on the PLE. I just want to puke. I want to fucking vomit. Like what the fuck is it? And Carmelo's like, he got me. Like this.
Yeah, he's
like,
oh, shit. He got one over on me.
Damn.
Did he?
You didn't attack him? Shit. Ugh. All I did was kick your ass and, like, what the fuck? Why does this suck so bad? Why can't wrestling just be good?
I don't know. The worst is people say this is good. People say this is good. So it's like, I don't know what to believe anymore.
We have to accept that these are not wrestling fans. These are sea monkeys. They're the fucking sea monkeys, Rich. These people are...
Nah, but the people that like this shit are people that I know better wrestling, and I don't understand what's happening in this world.
Name names, because I can't accept
Well, Brian Alvarez, for one, loves this shit. And I'm
but part of Brian's whole deal is he likes things that are wacky, with the little fucking symbol behind it with the exclamation point.
Yeah.
Okay? He likes things that are wacky. And NXT is undoubtedly wacky.
It's wacky.
You can't say that this shit isn't wacky. Okay? It's also fucking terrible. Now, the men's Iron Survivor, I thought this was the best match on the show. I didn't hate this, but there's a couple reasons, right? Number one, we got to talk about Tyler Bate, because just a couple of years ago, this guy was blowing the roof off of 10,000 seat basketball arenas and having 5-star matches on these NXT shows. Now he's entrant number 3 of the NXT Iron Survivor Challenge match in front of 5,000 people in the Total Mortgage Arena in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Okay. He's going backwards. This guy's the Benjamin Button of fucking WWE. But here's the thing. He gets in the ring and then he owns the ring and he's the most over person in the match while he's
still
in the ring.
Really, really good. Yeah.
So it's like, don't they see this?
No.
Like, what the fuck? Like, he comes into no reaction. He's the next guy out. He's like Doug Gilbert coming out for the Royal Rumble, and no one knows who he is,
including Kurt Hennig. 95. I remember it well because he comes out and he comes out and Kurt Hennig goes, "Ha, it's who is that?" And then Vince stops for a second and goes, "Doug Gilbert." And Kurt Hennig goes, "Oh, all right." It's like, you know who he is. Like,
yeah.
It's so good.
Doug Gilbert, who won a battle royal in Memphis to earn a spot in the Royal Rumble. No one knows who he is.
Gilbert. Yeah, it's so good.
Vince trying to get him over. Yeah. And then that's Tyler Bate. He comes out. He's like Doug Gilbert in 1995, right? No one.
It might be 96. I might be wrong. It might be 96. Don't quote me.
Yeah, it's a little deeper than 95. I thought you were wrong, but
I think it's 96 actually. Yeah, but
it's not important.
96. It is 96. It is 96. Don't correct me.
So, but then Bate ends up being over as fuck because he's great, and he ends up getting over with these fans who didn't give a shit about him. I will say this: if you're gonna call yourself the big strong boy, okay, if you're gonna call yourself big strong boy, I'm a little uncomfortable that your tights look like little undies. They look like little tighty whities with the fucking lines on the side. Like,
I always said that his gimmick was going to be. I was positive that one day Vince McMahon. I've told this story before, that because of the gear and because of the the tighty whities, that he'd be the big strong baby. He's a baby. Look at him. He's a goddamn strong baby. It's like. And he would come out.
That's what he is now.
That's what he is. And like, thank God Vince is here because it's New Year's, and he would have him come out as the New Year's baby. You know what I mean? It'd be like an episode of Raw, and the Miz would come out there. "I came to play," and he's like, "All right, everybody, it's New Year's, and I'm the most must-see WWE superstar. I'm the 2-time Intercontinental Champion. I main evented WrestleMania with The Rock," or whatever. And then he'd say, like, then the cake would open or something. Some fucking cake would be in the ring for New Year's. And then Tyler Bate would come out, and Vince, in Gorilla, would be like, "He's a big, strong baby. Look at that big New Year's baby." And then, like, it's perfect. Thank God Vince isn't there anymore. Poor Tyler Bate but he's still kind of doing that anyway. He doesn't have to.
He's doing it. He's
still kind of doing it.
He's got his tights are white, and the design on the front is like the design on the front of the tighty whities, where it's a little pouch where you pull your fucking dingus out to pee without pulling the fucking underwears down. That's what he wears. It looks like he's wearing underoos. Do you remember underoos when you were
Of course I remember underoos. Yeah, of course.
This man wrestles in fucking underoos and calls himself Big Strong Boy, and it's fucking weird. It's weird. This guy needs to get some long tights or some colorful something.
I think I had Pee Wee Herman underoos. I believe so.
Listen, I think I had Robin, not Batman. Robin. because they used to come with a T-shirt too. Like,
yeah, you got the shirt and the. Yeah.
It was a set, so I had the
you got
shirt.
Robin. What a raw deal! They must have been sold out of Batman. And your mom's like, "All right, well, whatever. Robin's
I got
fine."
Robin, the fucking red shirt with the green sleeves and the letter R like on the chest,
right?
And then the little fucking lines down the center, like it was like, and then the fucking bottoms, like they're colored with the underoos, like you were like a character with the underoos.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
That's what he wears. He wears like underoos. Like it's really fucking weird. Like he's become. You're right. He became like a giant man baby. That's his gimmick. He's a man baby. But he was really good in the match, and you know this was better. This was like 1,000,000 times better than the women's match. But you know it was too much though. You know a little much. But they put Trick Williams over, and he's starting to get over, and he's got a ways to go still in the ring, but. You know, I called this one from the start. I am still buying the Trick Williams stock. I still say he's going to ultimately be a bigger star than Carmelo Hayes. You know, it's like the basic ass small brain take was always, oh, Carmelo Hayes is going to be the big star. And if you have any eye for talent or eye for, you know, how to project young wrestlers, it was obviously going to be Trick Williams. He's taller. He's more telegenic. He's a former college football player, so he's a good athlete. So there's a good chance that he's going to be a good worker. Now, the thing with Trick Williams was always going to be, is he ever going to pick up the wrestling part of it? We still don't know that. You know, I can't sit here and confidently tell you that I think he's some kind of great worker. I know he looks great. I know he looks like a star. I know he has he's got the confidence of a star, and I know that he could talk. So what's the last part that he's missing? We got to know if he can competently work the main roster, and we don't know that yet. And let's see how old he is now. He's 29, so we're getting there.
Yeah,
it's shit or get off the pot time.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, you know, but, you know, if I was starting a wrestling company, am I taking him or am I taking Carmelo? I'm taking him. Carmelo's of the finished package already. But Carmelo Hayes is what he is.
That ceiling is low. And I was going to say on this night, it became very, very obvious because you have Lex King and Carmelo having just a boring as fuck, nothing happening, dead crowd match.
Yeah.
Carmelo's he has good matches with Ilya Dragunov. Great. Cool. Really tough.
I could do
to have great matches with Ilya Dragunov. You know what I mean? But anytime he's in there with...
Well, actually, considering what we're about to review, maybe it isn't so easy.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say someone did find a way to have a pretty bad match with Ilya Dragunov. But, like, you know, the Carmelo thing was like... I've never seen it for him in terms of like that ceiling. Like you said, that floor is good. Like, you know, you're going to get a solid guy. He looks the part in some ways. He talks, he has confidence, he has all that sort of stuff, but he doesn't have that projectable main roster superstar stuff. First off, we talked about it many weeks ago when they had that special NXT where they tried to load it up to go against Dynamite, and they had him in there with Cena and Undertaker and all that sort of stuff. And these guys are like a foot taller than this guy. Like he's short as hell. And I know that that's a Vinceism and it really doesn't matter, but this company though has a lot of really tall dudes, and that's kind of what the company has always been. So when you have this guy that isn't, you know, as big as these other guys and then doesn't work like a small guy either. He works like a bigger, slower, deliberate type of guy or whatever. And that I think affects him a little bit as well, that he doesn't come across like this super worker either. You can be a little shorter and be a super worker. I don't know though if you can be a little shorter and be a WWE main event style worker. And that's kind of what they've turned him into, which is fine. And that's okay. But I think his ceiling is going to be NXT main eventer. And that's as far as I see him going. Or if he goes to the main roster, mid-card guy, lower mid-card guy, that sort of stuff, tag team guy, something like that. Whereas Trick, on this night, you see, okay, this is a dude that is big. He's 6'4", I think, is somewhere around there. Built like a brick shit house, has charisma.
Shorter, but, yeah.
Is he a little? I mean, but he wears it well. You know what I mean? Like he comes across like a bigger dude.
His body makes him look tall. Yeah,
yeah.
He
just comes across
looks like a big strapping athlete.
Yeah, exactly. He looks like an athlete. He looks like a big time, and that's taking nothing away from Carmelo. Obviously, Carmelo's in great shape as well. But there's just something different about the guy that's just a little bit, 4 or 5 inches taller.
You're right. He's listed 6'4".
Okay,
right.
and I don't know if he's probably 6'2", 6'3", or whatever, but he's big. You could tell that and you can see the difference difference in that, like, okay, yes, this guy is the dude who the ceiling is way, way higher for this guy. The problem is, will the floor get there? And that's, he hasn't quite figured it out. But if you can accentuate his positives and hide his negatives, he's going to be the dude, and he's going to be the guy that gets over. And I'll say, on this night, man, he was more over than Carmelo Hayes has ever been over.
Yes. And he's got the higher ceiling and the lower floor. And he started, you know, Carmelo Hayes has been a wrestler for longer. You know, he started earlier, so he's got that advantage as well. And I'm not saying Carmelo Hayes isn't going to be useful. I mean, he's obviously someone who can work the main roster. I'm not saying the guy isn't good. This idea that he was this lock to be a big time star when the guy next to him, to me, was always the one that I had my eye on. I mean, that had the potential to be a big star. I think Trick Williams has a chance to be a really big star. I'm not saying he's going to be. I think he has a chance. I think there is a clear ceiling on Carmelo Hayes. And the only reason we compare them is because they've been paired together for fucking how long now? 2 years or whatever it is?
Yeah.
So it's a natural comparison to make because they've been aligned and they're still aligned. And they're going to do the big feud at some point. You know, at the end of this show, the idea was that everything was cool between them, but they did that thing where Carmelo Hayes is staring at him after he walks away because, you know, they can't ever be subtle about anything. So, you know, because it's wrestling for fucking sea monkeys. So they have to make sure that you know what's coming
just in
next
case
at
you
all
forgot
times.
that there's tension between these two guys that we've alluded to every week for what feels like 6 months. We now have to have a long shot where we look at Carmelo Hayes, look at him longly, and go,
stare, yeah. But yeah, so the idea was to get Trick Williams over here, and he is over. He's over like crazy, and in front of this crowd at least. And I thought this was the best match in the show, which brings us to what wasn't the best match in the show: Kiana James and Roxanne Perez in the cage match. And I mean, this is like every Roxanne Perez plunder match that they do on, where it's like, it's so plastic and it's like it's like, I guess it's technically a cage match because they're in a cage, but like, what was the point of being in the cage other than, I guess they climbed it a couple times and dove off? And
yeah, they climbed it a couple times. They threw each other into it. Maybe about 125 times. They didn't know what the hell else to do with the cage.
Yeah.
So they just grabbed each other's heads and threw each other into the cage a bunch of times, over and over and over and over.
And it wasn't exactly in a way that you would think that you would remember from the territory days of throwing each other into the cage either. You know, it was, you know, they were being very careful with one another, and it was an NXT fucking cage match. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, no blood, no violence,
no intensity,
yeah.
Just that fake veneer of intensity, but you know what? There's no intensity because they're not good enough to project intensity,
right?
Because they stink.
And they're so bad at actually wrestling that they had to do a thing where Kiana James tried to leave the cage. And Vic Joseph's like, I don't know why she's trying to leave the cage. It's not an escape the cage match. But it was so that she could bring a WWE branded black chair into the ring because they needed something. Because after the 9 minutes of them throwing each other into the cage, they decided, well, we need something. So they had her go get the chair or whatever. And then it all led to the door opening, Roxanne Perez walking to the door, and then Izzy Dame coming out and slamming the cage door on Roxanne Perez's. And they said, oh, my God, it's Izzy Dame. I don't know if this is going to light the territory on fire quite like it did World Class, but I guess we'll see what happens happening there. But
is that the most copied finish of all time?
Yes. Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Has to be, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
You know, it's it's a constant. Who did it the second time the best? Would it be Triple H and Mankind when they did their version of it?
You were there live for that, right? At the Meadowlands, SummerSlam 97.
SummerSlam 97. Yes, I was there for that. Yes, it was. Was that the most effective copy of the Terry Gordy spot?
Yes. There's been so many. I don't know. I mean, WWE would do it on a yearly basis at pretty much every cage match they would have.
Yeah.
Do it. I don't know. I guess it's pretty. I don't know. But I don't know if this Izzy Dame one is going to be it. But yeah, so Izzy Dame, if you don't know, she looks exactly like Tiffany Stratton and has the exact same character as Tiffany Stratton. So there you go. She came out.
She's another super worker to add to the mix.
Yes, she's a terrible worker, and she's playing a bitchy Barbie character. So much so that if you
I
go
don't
to
know.
her,
I've never seen her wrestle. Have you seen her wrestle?
I watched a video and it did not look.
Okay.
Yeah, it did.
I'm not familiar with her.
No. Yeah. Mayu Iwatani, this is not, I don't think, over here in NXT. But I just love that they have another character that's exactly the same. Because if you go to her like Twitter account, her avatar is Barbie, and she goes, "I'm a bad Barbie bitch," or whatever in her tweets. And I'm like, we have that already. Great. I thought, don't we already have a bad Barbie bitch? Do we need two bad Barbie bitches? Like, surely Tiffany Stratton has to adapt her character, right? We can't have two of the same characters on NXT anymore, Joe. That's not possible, right? So anyway, who cares?
Ilya Dragunov defeats Baron Corbin.
Ugh. Boring as fuck.
I don't know what to say. I mean,
yeah,
it happened. I watched it.
Well, I'll tell you here on Cage Match, OSX85 says people are sleeping on Corbin for how he was portrayed during his main roster run. He was motivated in the build and showed up to throw down against Dragunov here. His best match yet. 10 out of 10. The perfect wrestling match was on this night.
The perfect match, yes.
Right. You will never see a more perfect wrestling match than Ilya Dragunov and Baron Corbin at the main event of NXT Deadline.
The pinnacle of professional wrestling.
The sport gets no better than this. It's
nope. Got to throw the 10 on it if you have the opportunity when you see a match like this. So yeah, whatever. This show. I mean, there's been worse NXT shows for sure. I guess that's the nicest thing I could say.
Yeah.
You know, but it's fucking NXT, and NXT is terrible. And I'm going to keep telling people it's terrible. We cannot let them get away with it.
No. We have to stop this.
We can't let them get away with it. So, yeah, we're already almost 3 hours into this fucker. We better move it along.
We're 2.5 hours. So let's get this going here. Let's pay some bills here real quick. I'll let you know this episode of the Flagship Podcast is brought to you by our friends Magic Mind. And Joe, you know me, I drink a lot of coffee. I get myself so chock full of caffeine from coffee that I'm unfocused. I have trouble staying on topic or getting my mind together or finishing the show under 3 hours. But that's all right, because thankfully Magic Mind has now entered my life. This little shot has improved my mornings and, more importantly, my days so much. Very easy to incorporate into my morning routine. It tastes great. It helps me stay on track throughout the day. And instead of reaching for that second, third, or fourth cup of coffee and then having that dreaded crash, I don't have to worry about that anymore. I take this little shot and I'm good to go for the rest of the day. Magic Mind gives me mental energy, mental focus. It helps me sleep better, and I've been able to be more creative and more focused as well. Magic Mind has all the ingredients sourced from the best suppliers around the world, all natural ingredients, no sugar, nut-free, vegan, keto, and paleo-friendly as well. So now it is time for you to join me in transforming your days and your nights. Visit magicmind.com/flagship. That's magicmind.com/flagship. Use the promo code flagship20 to get 56% off your first subscription to Magic Mind or 20% off your first one-time purchase of Magic Mind. And Magic Mind has a 100% money-back guarantee, no questions asked, so there's really no risk. If you don't like it or it isn't improving your days and your nights, they will refund you in 3 to 4 hours, no questions asked. Once again, add Magic Mind to your morning routine at magicmind.com/flagship and use the discount code flagship20 for up to 56% off a subscription or 20% off your first one-time purchase. And of course, we thank Magic Mind for sponsoring this episode of the Flagship Podcast.
Okay, so Final Battle is on Friday, correct?
Correct.
We should do a very quick Final Battle segment because the only people who are going to benefit from this are the live listeners, because by the time the vast majority of people listen to this, Final Battle will be over.
Correct.
So let's give a cursory run through the card and maybe do 2-3 minutes tops and then move on to some of the other stuff we have to do. So with the main event, they're going with Athena and Billy Starks because, you know, it looked like there's no way we're going to do 2 or 3 minutes, by the way. That is such wishful thinking. So when are we ever that pithy? But
I was going to say, good for you, but go for it. But
it looked like a couple months ago what they were doing for Final Battle. The tag team titles were on MJF and Adam Cole. The trios titles were on Young Bucks and Hangman Page. The television title was on Samoa Joe. The world title was on Eddie Kingston. And it looked like, oh, okay, here's what they're doing. They're putting all the titles on AEW stars, and then they're going to do Final Battle, and it's going to drum up some interest in ROH, get people to buy some subs. But then they took all of those titles off of all of those people, with the exception of the tag titles because Adam Cole is hurt. And what we're left with is a card with Athena and Billy Starks in the main event. And I can't say it doesn't deserve the main event because they've been doing this story with the minions or whatever for months and months and months. And then they finally did the Billy Starks turn, right? And it's like, all right, it is a world title match and they don't have a world champion anymore in ROH. They don't have MJF and Adam Cole. So it really is the best built match on the show. And it probably deserves to be the main event. The problem is nobody gives a fuck about this Athena minion story. It's a cute little story they do behind a paywall with, I'm sure there's, look, the reason Final Battle is behind a paywall to begin with is obviously because they don't have a lot of subscribers right now. That's the whole point of doing this pay-per-view exclusively on Honor Club, because they're trying to get those Honor Club subs back up. And it's kind of like a catch-22 because nobody's watching Ring of Honor on Honor Club. The Athena Billy Starks thing isn't over. Chris Jericho did a Billy Starks joke last night on Dynamite, and no one reacted because no one knows who the fuck she is.
Nobody knew. That was very telling when he makes that joke, and they keep saying Billy Starks, Billy Starks, Billy Starks, and the crowd's just like, there's just a murmur.
Because nobody watches ROH.
I was like, ooh, that's your main event in 3 days. That's not good. Or 2 days. That's not good. I don't like that.
Generously, there's 10,000 people who have an Honor Club sub. Because they started with like 13,000, and I can't imagine they haven't lost subs.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was there for the breakup angle. I don't know if you watched it. I'm sure you didn't, but I was there because they taped it on the Dynamite that I went to. I mean, like, I don't know, 1,000 people maybe cared of the 5,000 or 6,000 that hung around. I mean, it was probably a fifth of the audience knew what the fuck was going on. Nobody in my section knew. Yeah. I had to explain it to everybody what was going on. And even I'm like, I don't watch all of it, but like, I kind of have the idea. Nobody watches Ring of Honor. Nobody.
Yeah. And, it's one of those things where, Tony Khan at one point had said, Ring of Honor is going to be for the wrestling fans. It's going to be, it's going to be all, it's going to be carry the tradition of ROH and then what's the top program in Ring of Honor? It's this silliness with the minions. And you know what I mean? And it's like, this kind of shit has also permeated the brand that Tony Khan had told everyone was going to be the wrestling brand and, straight-laced pro wrestling. And here we are. What's the main event of the pay-per-view? So this nonsense. So, but yeah, it was the obvious choice. It's at least the best built match on the show. The ticket sales are still not good. It's not a drawing match at all. They're not selling any tickets. I doubt this is going to drum up a lot of subs. And, ROH, this is where we've fallen with it. It's just, this is the state of ROH. And I was really excited for it at first. And look, all the ROH pay-per-views have been pretty great. And looking at some of the other matches on here, I'm sure this will be a really good show. But that is a weak main event. And the sad part is it's the right main event. They don't have anything else.
No, they really don't. It's a weird way that they've booked. I get what they're doing here because they're trying to put like the Ring of Honor in the spotlight, but then this Athena Billy Starks, I mean, it would have really benefited from getting something on Dynamite, some sort of segment on Dynamite. It has existed entirely on Ring of Honor. So if you're not watching Ring of Honor, you look at this as the main. It's just I know what they're doing. Like you said, it's the right main event, but it ultimately it looks rough when you look at this lineup and go, oh boy, yeah, that's the main event. I don't know if I'm feeling that as main event. And I also not sure. Like, I think it'll be pretty good. I think Athena's been pretty good. I don't know if Billy is ready for that sort of moment. And we've talked about these Ring of Honor shows, and they've been highlighted by just these tremendous, like, amazing main events. And it's a lofty standard to live up to.
Well,
and
Athena and Willow was really good.
I agree, but I think Willow is light years better than Billy Starks.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they have a good match. And I've been as critical of Billy Starks as anyone. But I wouldn't be surprised if they have a good match. I just think it's a weak main event. I feel like if the Elite were still trios champs and MJF and Cole were on this show and Eddie Kingston had a title defense, this would be in the mid-card. Let's be honest. This is a mid-card match. It was a comedy gimmick. They did the split. This would be a mid-card match, but this is what they're left with, and it's the best option. And that's why ticket sales are poor, because there's no star power in the main event spot, and there's a lack of star power up and down the card. And that's why I don't think this is going to produce the kind of subscriptions that they hoped it would when they decided to make Final Battle a paywalled show exclusively. So, I don't know. You know, I can't sit here and tell you I'm super excited for this. And here's the other thing. I'm going to be no fun Lanza again. I thought Athena was far more interesting when she was just this badass who was beating the living shit out of people. To the point.
But what's the story, Joe? What's the story?
To the point people were complaining that she was working too stiff because people got worked. That was awesome. And that's really what got her over to begin with. And then they went in the comedy direction. You know, and I'm less interested as a result. Maybe I don't speak for the masses, and maybe this will draw 10,000 new subscribers. I don't fucking know. I just don't feel like it's going to. And I don't like the way that you're telling me they reacted live to the split. And I don't like the way they reacted to Jericho's joke last night. I just don't feel like this story is over because no one is watching.
There's zero buzz on this show. We're 24 hours out from it, and there is zero buzz. I don't see previews out there. I don't see any other podcasts talking. I don't see there is
no one cares.
No buzz to this show. No buzz.
So Vikingo defends the AAA title against Black Taurus. That's going to be awesome. They should try to sign Black Taurus because he rules. FTR and Mark Briscoe versus the Blackpool Combat Club. That's going to fucking rock.
That's going to roll. That's going to be the match of the night for sure.
And it's a Jay Briscoe tribute match. And you probably could have main evented with this, in all honesty. But I understand why they're main eventing with Athena and Billy Starks. Athena main evented last time with Willow and knocked it out of the park. It is a world title match, and it's a story they've been telling for months.
She's the best thing on Ring of Honor television. She is the focal point of Ring of Honor television, so it makes sense that she's the main event.
Star of that show. Yes, so I understand it. But you probably could have gotten away with main eventing with this, with the Jay Briscoe connection and everything. But whatever, it's a minor gripe. Tony Nese and Ethan Page have been having a feud on Ring of Honor. They're going to have an I Quit match. Two guys who are charisma deprived, and I'm sure that match is going to be the butt of a lot of jokes. So we'll see how it turns out. Shane Taylor and Keith Lee, they kind of have this ongoing feud on the Ring of Honor sub-brand of the company that gets, reignited every time there's a pay-per-view. So they're going to finally have I don't think they've had a singles match yet, right? They had a tag match for sure. This might be their first singles match. And then they're doing a survival of the fittest. Dalton Castle, Kyle Fletcher, Lee Moriarty, Commander, Lee Johnson, and a mystery man. That'll probably be somebody fun, right? Unless they've announced it already.
As far as I know, as of this recording right now, 10/29 on December 14th, and still TBD.
So maybe we'll get a fun surprise, either a return from injury that we've forgotten about or somebody new coming in. And then the main event that we talked about. Look,
and there's one more match. Sorry, one more match got added.
Breaking news?
Breaking news. ROH Pure Championship, Wheeler, Utah versus filthy Tom Lawler.
Oh, see, now look, the show's probably going to be pretty damn good.
I'm sure it will be, yeah.
The show's going to be pretty damn good. It's just no one cares. We have first numbers here for Revolution in Greensboro. You want that?
Yeah, go for it.
Tickets. WrestleTix, their first report, 7,125 tickets distributed. Their setup is 9,300 seats. So this continues the pattern of AEW pay-per-views drawing well. They're going to maybe do 10,000 in Greensboro when it's all said and done.
Oh, they'll add. They'll add to that one. And that's a Sting retirement match or whatever. They'll add to that one for sure.
They're going to do 10,000. So that's going to draw well. Look, that's been the story. The pay-per-views are still doing well. Why? Because the pay-per-views are good. And I should note, it's 1 week. Okay, I understand. 0.3 for Dynamite last night. 0.3. A few weeks into this little tournament deal. I don't know if you saw 2 weeks ago on Collision. I know you want to talk about Collision. It's a good transition. I don't know if you saw a couple weeks ago on Collision, they did the 3 Continental Classic matches, and in the quarter hours, those were the 3 spikes.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 Continental Classic matches.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this week, Dynamite, the best demo number they've done in God knows how long. 0.3. And and this is going to lead into what you want to talk about. Look, I don't know. Again, it's 1 week, but we do have some evidence that there is some interest in the Continental Classic as it's moved along. Maybe people just want wrestling, Rich.
I think that might be the case. Yeah,
maybe they don't want MJF and his show long goofball threads. He wasn't even on the show last night. I mean, I don't mean to pick on him specifically again, but I don't know. Maybe next week, but Moxley Swerve, that quarter didn't do great, but it went up from the quarter before. So there was some interest in Moxley Swerve. And the Continental Classic stuff has been, I wouldn't call it a blowaway success from a business standpoint. The matches have gotten better, by the way. We've finally had some great matches. Last time we talked, that was my big gripe. Where are the great matches? Well, last week we had the matches on Rampage and Collision last week were phenomenal.
Fucking phenomenal. Yeah.
Were phenomenal. That the Bryan Danielson match with Andrade where he went after his eye.
How good was that? And then beat him. Incredible. And then he just beat him. That's my favorite part of that entire match.
That's right.
Is that Bryan Danielson didn't overcome the odds. He fucking lost. Andrade kicked the guy in the fucking eye and beat on his eye and then beat him and then won the wrestling match.
Yeah.
Right. I love that so much.
And then Andrade DDTing Brody King on the exposed turnbuckle and beating him last night, knocking him out. Big giant. So, that tournament's been good, and it seems like there's some interest in it, and it's starting to draw a little bit on TV. But you wrote a piece on Collision behind the paywall, and that'll be on the $10 tier. But you go ahead and summarize, because I honestly think that the last 3 weeks of Dynamite kind of have been the same kind of tone, but go ahead.
Absolutely. No, I mostly went through Collision, the last couple of weeks, just saying like this, I think this is the path forward for AEW, and we've seen it with Dynamites as well. And I think one of the big things that I talked about in that article, you can read at flagshippatreon.com, is like you talked about the ratings and the business moving of it is they went head to head with NXT Deadline for Collision last week, and it did not drop at all. We've always talked about the thing that the big turnaround this last year that happened with AEW was that once WWE shows were on, AEW shows were plummeting because the fans were being served sports entertainment that they wanted on the other channel and just would say, okay, well, I'm going to go watch WWE instead. When given a choice, they chose WWE time and time again, and that was never the case before. There was 3 years of data that was not the case, and all of a sudden this year, it turned around and it switched. Now with this last Collision on Deadline, again, that's one deadline, one show, one PLE or whatever to look at it, they didn't drop. And they were against the in-season tournament in the NBA. They were against some pretty decent competition. It's a Saturday during the holidays, and it was a good rating this last Saturday for Collision. And it went head-to-head with NXT Deadline, and those people didn't leave. They stayed because you know what? They got wrestling on the NXT. They weren't going to get the wrestling that they wanted at NXT Deadline, but they got the wrestling they wanted on Collision. I thought that was very, very telling. And to me, it was like the more evidence that you're pointing out that this week's ratings also reflected of like, maybe this is what people wanted, guys. Maybe this is a true alternative. Professional wrestling. Do what you do better than anybody else can do. Nobody else can have a match like Andrade and Bryan Danielson. Nobody else can have a match like Eddie Kingston versus Bryan Danielson. No other wrestling company on earth can do that. America. Let me because people will say, but they could do that. Okay, America.
They get the idea.
You know what I'm saying. But I'll say America just before people go, they do that, and all Japan does.
Some dope on YouTube will make a comment that'll piss you off. That's where you get the worst one.
But America, who else is going to do that match? That Andrade Bryan Danielson match is nobody else. So you know that if you want to watch that kind of match, there's only one place you can watch that, and that was on Collision. And like you're saying, Dynamite the last couple of weeks has had really, really good wrestling, really good. So it's like to me, it was the shining light, and that's kind of what the article was about. Is like this is the path forward. This is the path towards rebuilding. Is going back to what your roots, doing what you guys did, because look at it, the business is turning up, things are looking better. Way more critically acclaimed. I don't know. I think this is the way forward. I think this is what they should be doing more. Call me crazy. I'd rather AEW have good wrestling than inflatable alligators and owie, the Chinese food's too hot. I don't know. Seems like this is working a little bit better. I like it a lot more. The ratings are reflecting it. The crowd seems pretty hot again. I don't know. I'd go with that. The crowds have been great, by the way. Those crowds have been phenomenal the last couple of weeks as well, which I think they're maybe not numbers, but in terms of the crowd reactions, way more than there was a couple of weeks there where it was just a funeral when you were watching Dynamite. It feels like that's back a little bit too. So I don't know. I feel like we're figuring out what people like out of their AEW, and it's not what we were served for most of the summer and the fall of 2023. So we'll see. It's all once this Continental Classic is done, man. I don't know, because that's opening up a lot of TV again for a lot of bullshit. So I'm still a little worried.
What people have to remember is there's at least 3 Continental Classic matches on each episode of TV, which takes up at least 3, sometimes 4 segments, depending if the matches go through a commercial or whatever. So a lot of real estate's going to open up when the tournament's over, and there's going to be a lot of room, and maybe some, because there's been less, for lack of a better term, sports entertainment style stuff. And people know what we mean when we say that, because the tournament's taking up so much of so many of the segments, and it's working. The tournament's drawing on a lot of these shows. And I think Dynamite's been better the last 3 weeks. They haven't been great shows, but they've been very good shows. Have they been vintage great shows? I don't think so, but they've been very good shows that I've enjoyed, I almost gave up doing the reviews. People could hear it, the listeners those reviews were getting hard for me, but I think the last 3 have been pretty good shows. And it's because, look, and this ties into the article you wrote. I did a segment today on the TV review, on the Dynamite review, talking about how I really think if it were up to me, if it was my decision, I would market AEW as a premium product. I would, and the comparison I used, because Tony Khan is such a big fan of prestige TV, as we all know, he's always referencing, The Sopranos and what's the other gimmick?
He loves The Sopranos. I think he likes The Wire too, I believe. I don't know if that's
the other one is Succession. Succession's the other one. And HBO used to have a slogan. It's not TV, it's HBO. And it's like, look, we're not doing laugh track comedies. We're not doing police procedural dramas with cornball music playing in the background, where a big mystery all gets wrapped up in 48 minutes. This is HBO, right? It's kind of uppity, right? It's a little gatekeepy. It's a little, we're better than the rest of TV, but they were, and they were like the forerunners of what became the prestige TV era, the golden era of prestige TV. And I feel like AEW lost its way this year, as we all know, and they need to get back to their roots of being, we're not sports entertainment, we're pro wrestling, and we're a more sophisticated product, and we're not for the unwashed masses. We're not for your sea monkey WWE fan who only knows one way of telling stories, and it has to be as unsubtle as getting hit in the head with a brick. We can be something different, something better, and we can carve out a little piece of real estate in the world of pro wrestling. And I feel like they're taking some steps to slowly get back to that. I've always said, the more that Reddit enjoys Dynamite, the more that like Raj Giri thinks that Dynamite's doing a good job, that's how the show has lost its way. And when those kind of people, the WWE fans or the Reddit mutants or people like this, the more they complain about Dynamite and AEW, generally the better it is. And that's more of what they should be. Because as we've talked about a million times, there's no point in just being a knockoff of what WWE is already doing and already doing well for the people who want that. WWE is serving their audience better than they maybe ever have. You're not going to win those people over. And the ones you do win over, you're always going to be their second choice. Carve out a niche and be something for everyone else. And be a premium wrestling product. And yeah, people on Twitter and Reddit are going to say, this is who they think they are. Pro wrestling can't be that. It has to be story. Let them, you're not trying to attract them. They're never going to like what you're doing. You're always going to be their second choice. Win us back. Because I believe there's enough people who like pro wrestling that you could be successful doing pro wrestling. And not whatever this horse shit has been all this, most of this year. So anyway, that's on YouTube. For people who aren't subscribers and don't listen to the Dynamite review, there's a 7-minute clip where I talk about that in more detail, where I think it would really behoove AEW to present themselves as a more premium product for a more sophisticated audience. You can't get, now it is pro wrestling and it can only be so sophisticated. You get the idea of what I'm saying.
Right. But say it with your chest. Pretend
yes.
that you guys are fucking prestige. Pretend you're better than the other guys. Pretend nobody else is doing what you're doing, because they aren't. And nobody else can do wrestling better than AEW can do wrestling in America. So you know what? Fucking do it. No. Say it.
And WWE has no interest in doing it better. They don't want to do what they do. And you're trying, and AEW lost their way, and they were trying to do what WWE does. And the last month or so has shown that not only do they do this better than anyone else can, they're getting results now. We're seeing some signs that people respond to it. So, I really firmly believe that they were successful for the first 2 years.
They were being tremendously successful.
Being different and being an alternative and rubbing it in the faces of these people that they were an alternative and they were different and that they were better. And this is not something unique to pro wrestling. What the fuck? WCW did it with Where the Big Boys Play. Same idea. This is where the big. How many times would Eric Bischoff say that per hour on Nitro? This is where the big boys play. Okay, it's the same idea.
Go back to Sega versus Nintendo. Sega does what Nintendo don't. You know what I mean? It's
same thing.
They're slow and old and Mario and bullshit and kids games
and for kids.
Yeah,
we're Sega.
We got sports and violence and Mortal Kombat with blood and all this shit. Blast processing.
Yeah. It's the same idea. And that's what, Tony got to get his nose back in that Challenger brand book and understand what he's supposed to be doing here. That's what it needs to be. And are you going to annoy people? Is it going to be off-putting? Or are they going to think you're being arrogant?
Good.
Yes, good.
That's those people.
Yes. And I believe that's what they need to do. So that clip is on YouTube, on our YouTube page. It's also on our Patreon for free. If you go to the Dynamite review, if you're not a subscriber and you click it, the 7-minute preview will be there where I clip that out as well. So it's along the same lines of what Rich wrote behind the paywall. Rich, Final Battle update 2 days ago, 2,253 tickets out, which is a brutal number. And that was actually up from the previous update. And WrestleTix, who, does this better than anyone, he speculates that that's with a lot of freebies too, based on the way the chart has moved and everything. So
things are going to move a little bit more, Joe, because we got 2 more matches to announce.
Yeah, go ahead.
Final Battle. You ready? We got the Gates of Agony versus TMDK for the 6-man titles. I'll put some butts in the seats. And then something that might actually put a butt, maybe could put some butts in some seats. The Von Erichs versus the Outrunners will be on the pre-show.
Look, I love the Outrunners. I think they are
too. I love it too. Anybody that doesn't like it's a dork.
I get if people aren't into it, but I like that. Look, as long as they're jobbers, I think it's
right.
Great.
If they're winning titles, okay, now we'll talk. But yeah, if they're just jobbers,
now we have a problem.
Yeah.
Then I have a problem with it. You can't push them. But as dorky job guys that are like a takeoff of an 80s fucking WCW Saturday Night team, I think it's great.
Fucking rocks, yeah.
They're very entertaining. But so that's AEW and the Ring of Honor. How do we want to do this? Do you want me to, you didn't watch the Impact or MLW shows. Do you want me to blow through those, or do you want to do the Japan stuff first?
Blow through those, and then we'll do Japan after that.
Okay. I got to get back to the format sheet here. Give me 1 second. You want to do MLW or Impact?
Choose your own adventure, Joe. You couldn't pay me to watch either of those, so knock yourself out, whichever one.
Let's talk about MLW One Shot. We've been doing a lot of MLW the last few weeks because, again, if we don't do it, who's going to do it?
This is co-branded with the WTF corporation as well.
It's not just co-branded. They really leaned in. They did a WBF style bodybuilding competition on the show.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Which was won,
that kind of rocks.
Which was won by Hammerstone.
Okay, well, that's good. I would have had my money on him, so that's pretty good.
And it was a big comedy. They brought out like one half of the main event, who was very skinny, and then they brought out I think, who was the second guy? It was the guy that comes out with Alex Kane, I think. The guy that used to be in
Sharp. Thomas Sharp.
Thomas Sharp.
Yeah.
And and then Hammerstone came out and he won they had this little trophy. It was small on purpose. That was the bit. But then Jacob Fatu came out from the crowd and beat the shit out of Hammerstone. So we're going to do another Jacob Fatu Hammerstone feud. And that got a good reaction. So, but they did other stuff too. Like they had Steven DeAngelis was the ring announcer and he came out and announced the attendance like they used to do on the old WrestleManias. I guess they do them on the new ones too, and he announced that they did one half of a fan more than All In to set a new all-time attendance record. They just did a lot of cheesy all right. 80s WWF style. They kept playing the Saturday Night's main event song. What the fuck's the name of that song? Obsession. They kept Obsession was the bumper music all night. So whatever. But Rocky Romero, Mascara Dorada, exactly what I thought. They did a 70% effort match, and they didn't work at Arena Mexico style. They worked at American style. So it wasn't nearly as good as it could have been. It was okay. And then they had the cheap finish where Selena De La Renta helped Rocky Romero win.
Yeah, of course. So we called that to an exact T. So perfect.
We called everything. You don't need to see it. It's totally skippable. It was like 3 stars or something. Miyu Yamashita defeated Delmi Exo. It was better than I thought it was going to be. I didn't know anything about Yamashita coming in, and I don't really like EXO, but it was okay, you know. Satoshi Kojima versus Filthy Tom Lawler. Tom Lawler is part of the WTF deal. This is a notebook match. This is the best match I watched all week.
Nice. All right. Glad to hear that. I'll watch that. I'll go watch that.
You should. It was a really awesome match. You know, Tom Lawler, he worked the arm. He kicked the arm into the ring steps or something very early to go after the strong, to take away the lariat, right? Like, they worked a match, Rich. I've seen so much wrestling like this week where
it was a pro wrestling match, huh?
Yeah. And you know, so he controlled a lot of it, and it was stiff, like down the closing stretch. They worked hard, and you know, nasty offense, and they had I would go about 4 stars flat. Kojima wins, and then they're putting him over, and you know, he was obviously an MLW world champion, you know, 2003, and he did a promo afterwards, and he said, "I come back after 21 years. Do you remember me?" You know, and everybody cheers, you know. And he's like, there is many bread, because they all threw bread in the ring instead of money after he won. He's like, there is many bread. And then he's like, I am the strongest arm, you know, and they went nuts. He's over like a motherfucker. If it existed, if there was an award for best freelancer of the year, it would be Kojima.
Oh, yeah.
He has been everywhere.
And he works his ass off. And he works his ass off everywhere.
He works hard, and he's still got it. Like, he's got to be 50, and he legitimately is still awesome. And this match fucking rocked. And at this point, I'm like, this show's not that bad. You know, we're 3 matches in, and everything's been either okay or great. And then we got Ricky Shane Page versus Jimmy Lloyd.
Oh.
And this was the
This is not the best match you watched all weekend? This is not the one?
The GCW offer match. We got a CMLL offer match. We got a New Japan offer match, and now we got the Game Changer offer match. I will say this: I didn't hate it.
That's high praise. Honestly, Lloyd. That's high praise with these 2 guys and you.
Yeah, the story was Jimmy Lloyd was backing up his boys, Mance Warner and Matthew Justice, who have been feuding with Ricky Shane Page, right? So he's coming in to help them out because, you know, Mance Warner's gone. He lost to Loser Leave Town. And Matthew Justice, I don't know where the fuck he is. Ricky Shane Page comes out with the guys with the gas masks, you know. Well, one of them attacks him and takes the mask off. It's Akira, you know. So that was like a cool little angle. And then he softens him up, and then it's just straight plunder. It's a Jimmy Lloyd match, but they kept it short. And Lloyd came in almost like a mercenary for the Second Gear crew, and the right guy won because Ricky Shane Page beat him, and we probably won't see Jimmy Lloyd again, you know. So from that standpoint, I thought it was well booked, you know, and I didn't hate it. It told a good story, and I didn't hate it. So we were really on a roll here. And then it was Janai Kai versus Maki Ito. That fucking sucked. Complete waste of time because I can't stand Ito. Matt Stryker does not understand Ito's gimmick.
It's a tough gimmick. It's a real tough Joe Dombrowski.
Dombrowski got it. And
well, it's not. How do you not get it?
Because Matt Stryker is a fucking fool, and
it's been the same gimmick for years, and it's very easy to figure out.
So Dombrowski would be like, she got kicked out of the Idol group, and she might look cute, but she's nasty. Like, he got it. Right.
Like, he was literally laying it out. She looks cute, but she says fuck, and she's nasty. And that was going over Matt's head.
No, and then Matt kept coming back with, Dombrowski, it's an insult to say a fighter is cute. Oh. You need to stop. Like,
just stepping all over it.
Yes. And Dombrowski keeps trying to explain, and Stryker keeps like, you just don't get it, Joe. She doesn't want to be called cute. She's a fighter. Yes. Like, and it's like, you're missing
because her slogan isn't "I'm the cutest pro wrestler in the world." That's not what she says every time she talks.
Right. Ugh. And then she did the crying bit, and even though I don't like it and it's not for me, it just was all lost on Stryker. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. It just doesn't get it.
You know. So anyway, but I will say this: Janai Kai looked better than she has in a while. I thought physically she had some snap to her offense, and I will say that. And then it was Alex Kane and Matt Cardona, and you know, DeLander tried to get involved, and you know, it was Cardona, and Kane beat him, you know, pinned him in the middle, and then they had Richard Holiday come out, and he signed with the WTF. So he'll be the next challenger, it looks like. For Kane, it also looks like WWE didn't hire him, obviously, because he's back in MLW. So either that or he is on his way, and maybe he's got some time before he reports. I don't know. But Richard Holiday is back in MLW, and he's with the big heel group with Mr. Saint Laurent. So the WTF shit. So that was One Shot. Much better show than I was expecting.
Sounds all right.
Much better.
Sounds all right. Maybe I'll fire that.
It really
thing
wasn't that bad. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to watch anything except for Kojima and Tom Lawler, which legitimately ruled.
I think I'll watch that main event too. I like Alex Kane a lot, so I think I'll watch that main. But
yeah. But that was that, and then Impact's Final Resolution. I don't know. Impact just bores the hell out of me.
Every time I watch Impact, I'm bored out of my fucking mind. So
it's like, I guess it's competence pro wrestling, but it's also boring as shit. It just doesn't do anything for me. This was from Santino's little gym, so there might have been 150 people there, 200 people. Ace Austin and Chris Bay defeat Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards. It was exactly what you're probably picturing in your mind. Perfect little 2 3/4 star match, maybe a little better. They do the Heyman special, right? It bleeds into Alicia Edwards versus Jody Threat. Anyone who's seen Alicia Edwards wrestle knows that we don't need 7 minutes and 44 seconds of Alicia Edwards.
No, that seems like a lot more minutes of Alicia Edwards than what anybody needs. But
so Jody Threat wins. Then we're treated with some Tommy Dreamer. So then we get Tommy Dreamer versus Diener. Anyone who's seen Tommy Dreamer wrestle since 1999 knows we don't need 11 minutes and 38 seconds of Tommy Dreamer. But that's what we got. And he retains the prestigious Impact Digital Media title. Mike Bailey and Trent Seven, who is now signed with Impact. I think that's a good move for both parties.
Absolutely. They signed Kushida too. I don't know if you saw that, but
yeah. And again, like we talked about it, New Japan was never going to do anything with Kushida again. So that is a good move for both parties as well. I think both of those are really savvy signings for Impact. They beat the Rascals in what? Do I want to say that was the best match on the show? I think I do, because I didn't like the main event at all. And I'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, yeah, so what's his name came out with the contract, and the fuck's that guy's name? Guy that runs Impact. Fucking
Scott D'Amore.
Scott D'Amore comes out and gives him the contract, and Trent Seven's on the Impact roster. Jake something defeats Jason Hotch. That's the guy who won their Tough Enough gimmick.
Yes.
He's got a decent look. There might be something there.
He's fine.
So,
he's fine.
Yeah. Rhino and Moose, they did plunder, and I hated every second of it.
Move on.
Street fight. You've seen it a million times. Jordan Grace and Trinity defeat Deonna Purrazzo and Giselle Shaw. It was a match that existed. I have no thoughts whatsoever on it. And then the main event, which disappointed me. Josh Alexander and Zack Sabre Jr. against Motor City Machine Guns, which you'd think
sounds on paper awesome. Yeah.
But, and they just did stuff. I don't know. I was soulless. It was a long, soulless match where they just did stuff. There was no attempt at any kind of psychology, or there was no no face in I don't know. There's nothing to it. Just, I'm going to do some stuff. You're going to do some stuff. I'm going to tag. Then that guy's going to do some stuff. And it left me just empty. I don't know if I'm making sense. It's just a half hour of empty, soulless wrestling is really what it was.
It kind of feels like what a lot of Impact is right now. Every time I watch Impact, I'm like, this is good. I guess it's fine, but I feel nothing. I'm feeling nothing from this. And ultimately, it feels like a waste of time when I'm done watching these shows, because it's just like I didn't feel a thing.
Let me see what Cage Match thought of this stuff. Because I guarantee you that they got a decent number for that match. Let me see, because all right, so the show itself got a 6.13, which is like right on the fucking nose. It was 8.32 for the main. So what I'm going to say is this. I suspect people listening will probably like it a lot more than I did. There's nothing wrong with it. I found it soulless. That's all. And, fuck it. I've never said this, but I may as well. This is going to be unpopular. You ready?
Yeah, go for it.
I think the machine guns are overrated, and I've always felt that.
Ooh, all time overrated. You put them all time overrated?
So let me explain. Yeah. Let me explain what I mean. I think they're incredibly innovative. Okay. I think both of them are super crisp. I love Alex Shelley. I love Alex Shelley. Saban, he's all right.
I'm kind of with
he's
you.
Overrated.
I've always not been a big Saban guy. I've always been a big Shelley guy.
The team is innovative as hell and influential. There ain't no doubt about it. Okay. A lot of their matches leave me the way this one did, where I just feel like it's just soulless and it's no connective tissue, no overriding. What story are you telling me between the bells here? And they do that now. With that said, they've had a lot of matches I thought were great. Why I call them overrated, not to say that I don't think they're a good tag team. I do think they're a good tag team. I think that people think that they're a great all-time tag team and an underrated tag team that doesn't get their due. I kind of think they're properly rated. I don't see them as a great. I wouldn't put them on my upper, which is why I'm saying they're overrated. You could be overrated. Like, I'm going to use the easiest analogy ever. Derek Jeter. He's obviously a great baseball player. He's also overrated. You see, that's what I'm saying here. So, that's my hot take, I guess, on the motor. And this is another Motor City Machines Gun match that left me a little empty. I don't know. So, that was Impact. I liked the Bailey Trent Seven versus Rascals match. I thought it was a little better, but and nothing else on the show was really worth anybody's time other than that and the main event. All right, what else we got? I know we got a couple more.
Yeah, we got the Tokyo Sports Awards. Real quickly, before we actually get to the Tokyo Sports Awards, I know we're a little bit over. I think you need a little bit of time to talk about what we have on our Patreon that you released this week. I know we don't have time for a huge, big, long plug, but I do want to get it out of the way just for people that do not know. One of the most researched things and longest things, I think it is absolutely the longest thing that we've ever posted on the Patreon. Rave review so far for the Jovember to Remember special edition, the life, career, and death of Eddie Gilbert. You want to talk about that real quick, and then we'll get to the Tokyo Sports Awards and sign off here?
Yeah, so I did put out the latest Jovember to Remember, and it was the Eddie Gilbert, the life, career, and death of Eddie Gilbert. And I broke format a little bit for that particular show because I've reached a point in ECW history where Eddie Gilbert exits the company. And I just didn't feel right going through his exit in a little 10 or 15 minute segment on a typical Jovember and then going right into like an Ultra Clash review. You know what I mean? I felt like it was more significant. He was more significant not only to ECW, but to the entire that entire era of pro wrestling to do a blow through like that. So I decided to devote an entire episode to Gilbert. And I intended to just do a standard length episode, but just make it all about Eddie Gilbert and his exit from the company. And as I was doing my research and working on it, I thought, no, you know what? I'm going to do his whole fucking career. And that's what I did. And it goes from birth to death and goes through his entire wrestling career. And I really did a lot of research and dug deep. There's a ton of audio clips. I dug up a lot of old information. I think just about anyone can listen to this and learn something. Even if you think you know a lot about Eddie Gilbert, you probably will learn something listening to this. I know I learned a lot researching it. And I feel like there's I don't want to give too much away, but I did try to, I looked at his career as a whole and I tried to get into his head. And it wasn't hard to do because he was very outspoken and wasn't afraid to do interviews. And there was a lot of easy avenues to research him. And I feel like I got a good feel for what made him tick and what made him frustrated and why he had the successes he has and why he was frustrated and why his career went the way it did and why his career and why his life ended in tragedy. And I did try to tie it all together and tie some narratives together with it as well. It's not just a reading of his career from start to finish. I feel like I did try to give it some heart and some life so people can feel like they knew Eddie Gilbert by the time they were done with it. And I know that's not an easy thing to do. And I'm not a professional fucking documentary maker or anything like that, but I was really proud of it when I was done because I think I did accomplish that. And I was very nervous putting it out because I didn't, I worked really hard on it, and I wanted people to really like it. And so far, the early returns, people love it. So, and they're getting out of it what I was hoping they would get out of it. And people who know their history are telling me they learned some things. And I don't know. I think it's really good. I listened back to it, and of course, I hate a lot of it because I feel like, man, I really missed this, or I should have said this way, or I forgot to add this thing in, or this other thing that I cut, I should have left in. But that's just, Rich, sometimes you're really hard on yourself when,
yes,
and it's like, so I'm being overly critical. And then I had to stop listening to it. And I was like, you know what? It's good. I have to let it stand on its own. People are telling me it's good. And now it's like, I'm finding more stuff. I'm discovering more stuff, and I'm like, oh man, if I had only seen this before I finished. And
right, I did that with the first Brett versus Owen. I listened to it like 6 times, and every single time I was like, that fuck no. And then I got this, and I found more research, and I was like, I could edit. I could release a new audio clip. I'm like, what am I doing? It's all right.
I'm like, fine. No, I can't do this. I actually thought this week I was like, I could do a re-edited version and put it out.
That's exactly what I thought. I thought about doing that exact same thing for Brett versus Owen 1, and I was like, what? No, that's fine. It's okay. It's all right. No one cares.
Yeah. And I caught 2 mistakes I made that I can't sleep at night. One, the Tupelo concession brawl. I misspeak when I first talk about the match, and I say it was the opponents were Atsushi Onita, of course, and Tojo Yamamoto. Well, it was Atsushi Onita and Masafuchi. Tojo Yamamoto was their corner man.
Oh, disaster.
But because Tojo Yamamoto is such a big part of the brawl, in my mind, I just said, you know what I mean? But then a couple minutes later, I get it right. And I mentioned Fuchi as being in the match. But because I said Tojo Yamamoto the first time, I wanted to tell Andrew Rich to blow the whole thing up. I was like, I fucked up. Fucking
right.
You know what I mean?
This 14 seconds among these 4 hours is not right. So please.
I'm like, we got to start over, and I was like, Joe, just calm down. And then later on, there's a match in Puerto Rico with Ray Gonzalez. And for whatever reason, in the moment, I was thinking Invader, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, and it was that Ray, it was that motherfucker. But it's the wrong. I blame the wrong guy for killing Brody. And it's like, I don't outright say that, but the way I describe him, it's like,
yeah, this guy really hates Ray Gonzalez for some reason. Yeah, and nobody's can quite figure out.
Those 2 little mistakes have been eating at my fucking soul. So I wanted to say them to let people know before you come at me and are like, it wasn't Tojo Yamamoto. I know. I fucked up. I screwed it up. And I've been beating myself up for the last fucking week because I did that. But no, I think it's really good. It's 4 hours long. You talked me out of doing multi-parts. You and Andrew, actually. I consulted both of you guys. I was like, look, I can break this into different parts. And you're like, nah, man, just do the fucking 4 hours. That's kind of our brand.
That's anyway. A badge of honor, too.
You know what I mean? But what I did do is there's 5 chapters within the 4 hours, and they all have natural breaking points. And I don't know if you've listened yet, but it's
did. Yeah.
So they all finish, they all climax. Each chapter has a climax, and then it's almost like a new part of his career when the next chapter starts. So it's not like 4 hours of me just droning on. And then in 1987, no, there's a narrative to it, and it tells a story, and there's natural breaks. Like if you want to, all right, I can't do 4 hours at once. Oh, okay, this chapter's 48 minutes. Let's get through this, and I'll listen to, so there are some breaks in there. And Andrew did a phenomenal job like he always does. I mean, it's really good working with him because I know what I want in my head, and I'm not always the best at explaining it, but he gets exactly what I want every time. It's crazy. Like we're almost of one mind, where I have an idea and he's like, no, yeah, I got it. He lays it down, and then we collaborate. I'll listen back, and then we're just always on the same page, and it comes out almost exactly how I want it every time. He does a great job. He deserves a lot of credit. Believe me, I could never do this shit myself. I could never do it myself. And he had a lot of good ideas too. Like the chapter breaks where he puts down the Donna Summer song as the chapter break.
Yeah, it's perfect.
That was his idea.
Oh yeah.
And Gilbert ring walked to that in many territories.
Yeah, I thought it was natural. I thought that was absolutely. I would assume that was your idea, but there you go. Good on Andrew, because it's perfect.
He came up with that, because I told him, I said, look, I want to do these chapter breaks because I end each chapter in kind of dramatic fashion, and I'm like, it needs a little more oomph, it can't just be me stopping, like done talking and then starting to talk. And then he came up with that idea. It's like, oh, well, I could do this. And then he played it back. And I was like, that's fucking.
Oh, yeah, the song fucking rocks too. So every time it played, I was like, hell yeah, baby.
It's going to be in your head forever now.
Oh, it is.
I'm cooking dinner going, oh, you me to some hot stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't get it out of my fucking
It's like
head.
when we did that deep dive of the Fantastics. Oh my God. Sharp Dressed Man was in my head for months after that. It's like,
yeah. So it's like, but anyway, I'm proud of it. So far, people seem to think it's really good. So I was nervous. I was afraid it wasn't going to be as impactful to people as it was to me making it. And I really thought I nailed it once I finished it. And me, Mr. Humble. But, you never know how people are going to react to it. I did skip. I don't do a lot of the ECW stuff because I've been doing it on November. You have to remember, this is part of a series. So I kind of skip over those 6 months, but I did all that already on the other Jovembers, So it's like, and then I'm going to do more Eddie on the next Jovember because I have to do the whole Ultra Clash and all of that stuff. So, but the rest of his life is covered. His death is covered. And I think it ends in a very powerful way. I don't know how many people have finished it yet. And I think by the end of it, you'll have a good feel for, what this guy, he just, I don't know. I feel connected to him in a weird way. I feel like, he had a lot of problems and were different in a lot of ways, but I feel like I saw wrestling very similar to the way I see wrestling very similar to the way he saw wrestling. I don't know. And I've always felt he was a fascinating person. And I just thought that he deserves something like this. Now that we're at this point in the ECW story. But the next Jovember, by the way, is already mostly laid down. So I know people talk shit that it's slow. It's not going to be slow moving forward. And I know I've said that before, but I'm going to show, not tell. How about that? I'm going to put my money where my
put your money where your fucking mouth is, buddy. Yeah.
They're going to be out faster now. I wanted to read the Todd is God book, and I'm making some changes next year with the way that I approach all of it. I can't watch everything. I have to stop trying to do that. I can't. It's burning me out. It's slowing down my other projects that I enjoy doing more. So there's some things I'm not going to be doing as much of next year, and that's going to upset some people, but you can't make everyone happy. But there's other things I'm going to be doing more of. I'll just tell people right now, the notebook roundups December's the last one. I can't keep up. Not the way I want to do it. If I could do the notebook roundups watching 5 promotions, but I don't want to do it like that because it's not a complete project to me. Yeah. And if I can't go all the way, I don't want to do it. And the thing is, I can't watch everything anymore. It's killing all the other projects I want to do. And it's making me grumpy in my fucking real life. I can't do it because I feel like I'm always trying to fucking, man, I'm trying to bring my kid to Taekwondo and I'm trying to squeeze in a fucking match from Big Japan. And I'm like, what am I doing? I can't do this anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not like I'm going to stop watching stuff, but I won't have the pressure on me.
That I must watch all this stuff every month, every time for an entire year. Yeah.
I have a deadline and I have to watch every piece of wrestling that happened in November by December 15th when I write my piece. I'm going to put 100% effort into the November and December's like I have been all year. And then I think that's going away. I don't want to do it with just AEW, WWE, CMLL, New Japan, and All Japan. That's not a complete project. What is that? And if I can't do it complete, I don't want to do it because then it's half-ass. But I will replace it with something. What you'll probably get is more of the Joe reviews 5 matches that I used to do or stuff like that, or more random TV reviews. That's what I mean. This has consumed a lot of my time. I'll have more time to do other shit if I stop doing the notebook roundups. It's just it became too much, like Jovember. So anyway, that got off the beaten path. But that's the Gilbert thing. Even if you're not a Jovember listener, I think it also works as a standalone. I really do. So it's on the $5 tier, and if you like it, go back. The Jovembers are evergreen. and you could start those at any time. And most of them are under an hour. So they won't take up a lot of time. And then, I'm going to give it a little time. This is 4 hours long, so I'm not going to put the next November out like tomorrow. I'm going to give it a week or two. Maybe maybe I'll set a goal. Maybe I'll have it out before the end of the year. I mean, but then from there, they should be faster because I'm cutting back on some of the other stuff anyway.
There you go. So that's flagshippatreon.com. Obviously, $5 tier to get the Jovember to Remembers. $5 tier also gets you my Bret versus Owen series, talking about the Bret Hart versus Owen Hart feud. That episode 2 should be out next week. At some point, that'll be covering the month of December 1993 and the Bret Hart versus Owen Hart feud. Plenty of stuff in there. Some iconic promos. So excited about that episode to drop. And then, all of our other stuff. End of the month is going to get you the World's End Instant Reaction Live. We'll be doing an Instant Reaction Live immediately after AEW World's End. So that gets you that as well. That is on the $10 tier is for the Instant Reaction Live. All the bonus audio is on the $5 tier. $10 tier is all of our live shows, all of our written content, and everything. Unlocked for $10. That's flagshippatreon.com. Jovember to Remember, the Eddie Gilbert life and career and death of Eddie Gilbert is up there right now. 4+ hours, well worth your $5 a month for sure. But all right, we are way over time, but let's real quickly go over these Tokyo Sports Awards. We don't have to go through every single award nominee or whatever, just kind of the winners. Real quick, pithy thoughts about each. Tokyo Sports MVP, aka the best wrestler in Japan, which, by the way, these have a little bit of journalistic credit to them. Like, I guess we have to kind of preface if people don't know what the Tokyo Sports Awards are.
Political.
Yeah, it's political, but
to some extent.
Yeah, but it tends to be. Yeah, they're respected awards. Like the companies will tout them. You know what I mean? The wrestlers will tout them, but they're a little political as well. So just keep that in mind. But Tokyo Sports MVP, best wrestler in Japan, Tetsuya Naito gets the win here with 11 votes. Hiromu Takahashi was second, Sonata was third, and Kano was fourth with 1 vote.
So obviously, the big thing that jumps out at you is Sonata only got 2 votes and finished third, and he was IWGP champion most of the year.
Right.
And it normally doesn't work that way. Naito had the match, the Muto stuff, and then he won the G1, and it's not like he's an undeserving winner. I could see where they were going with that, but there really weren't a lot of strong contenders, to be honest, because Sonata has not been a strong champion. He just hasn't been. And this voting really reflected that. Not only did he only get 2 votes for MVP, he didn't show up anywhere else. Now, normally what they'll do is the guy that doesn't win MVP will win something else. You know what I mean? That's what I mean when it's political. They didn't even give him anything else. Like he outstanding performance. He only got 2 votes for that. And Hiromu got the 12 votes and 1 outstanding performance. Like, naturally, he would be like, all right, well, the IWGP champ, if he's not going to win the MVP, we'll give him outstanding performance or fighting spirit or something. But they didn't even do that. So it just tells you
he got nothing. He got nothing.
Yeah, it's just he hasn't been a great title reign. It just hasn't been, and people love to argue with us about it. He doesn't get good reactions in the buildings. People, oh, well, yeah, yes, he does. You're not. No, he doesn't. Stop. He doesn't. Okay. He hasn't gotten good reactions. I don't have different ears than you. Okay. He has matches haven't been anything special at all. And outside of that second Jay White reign, it's been the worst IWGP title reign in a long time. And this reflects it, I think. These result awards reflect it. The guy didn't even get a vote. None of his matches got a vote.
Not a
for
one.
Best match.
Not a one. And he won't get any either. In Voices of Wrestling's match of the year,
he won't get any. That's right.
There will be maybe 1 or 2 that pop up somewhere in the thing, but yeah, nothing. I don't think nothing's gonna be in the top 50.
Nothing. No.
And I'd be shocked if anything gets in the top 100. Honestly,
he hasn't had great matches,
no.
and this is political. Like Muto and Nakamura won. That's not a great bell to bell match. That's not going to do well on our poll either. But you can understand why it won, because this is more, it's a huge match, and Nakamura from WWE and Muto. You could get it. You get it. It wouldn't be my pick, but they sometimes go weird, and that's even more of an indictment on Sonata, because he's the IWGP champion. You'd figure one of his matches they would pick one, and it would get some token votes. Nothing. This man got shut out. And it's just unprecedented for the IWGP champion in this era, a long-term champion, to get completely fucking housed in these awards to where he was an afterthought. Okay. I thought tag team was interesting because Bishamon wins. Saito brothers are only 1 vote behind me. Saito brothers nearly won tag team of the year.
They're not even the best team in all Japan. What? I mean, I like the Saitos, but my God.
I think that rocks.
I mean, I guess.
So they, but Bishamon takes it by a vote. Outstanding performance. Again, this is often the consolation prize for not winning MVP. And Hiromu wins this. He finished second for MVP, and he really ran away with it. Kano, Jake Lee, and Sonata got some down ballot support.
This also tends to be, without doing, John Carroll from Wrestling Omakase gave me a lot of good research about the history of this award. We unfortunately don't have a ton of time, but a lot of times what this award tends to be is, all right, we're very political about MVP. That's going to go to a New Japan person. Outstanding performance, fine. We'll give it to some guy from Noah or some guy from All Japan or whatever. This case, it was Hiromu again. So it's like they wanted to reward Hiromu for his year, but didn't want to give him the MVP because that was Naito. So they gave him this, outstanding performance award, and he overwhelmingly got it, way over Kano, Jake Lee, and Sonata. And let me tell you, outstanding. I wouldn't describe Jake Lee or Sonata as outstanding at any point during this year, but sure,
token votes,
fine, yeah,
because they were champions,
right?
They were champions,
right,
and they got the token votes. And the Fighting Spirit Award, which is usually all right. Well, now we're gonna pick a guy from another company, and this is where they went with Kano, and he won this pretty easily. Yuma Aoyagi, Jake Lee. Nakajima got some support, and the Technique Award is like usually a dork award where they'll give it to a worker, and that's where they found room for Yuma Aoyagi. So you see how political it is. Like,
oh yeah.
But the other guy they shut out was Jake Lee. Like Jake Lee didn't win anything either, and he was
fine.
And that goes to tell you, like, it's so funny, and I really don't want to make it a thing, but like a lot of times we talk on this show about this stuff, and our critics will be like, "Oh, you're typical Westerners. You don't know how the Japanese
they don't know what
feel."
it's like domestic.
It's like
Western fans don't know shit about how it is in Japan. It's okay.
And I usually stay quiet about that, but a lot of the people who say that, I've been watching Puro since before they were born. That's number one.
Also, they also live in America too, so shut the fuck up.
And they live in America too. And also, you're not going to Puro explain me. That's not going to happen. I've been trading tapes since before your parents met. Okay, that's the other thing. And I don't often do this rant, but when I tell you that Sonata and Jake Lee were shitty champions, fucking listen to me next time, okay? Because here's your Japanese Tokyo Sports Awards, and they got fucking housed. Why? Because they weren't good champions. Can we put this to bed now? Maybe listen to me. Don't argue with me. Newcomer Award. There's your Saitos, baby.
Saito, they wanted to make sure. They're like, these motherfucking Saito. They didn't win that tag team of the year, and they said, we're giving them newcomer of the year then. So the Saitos, your newcomers of the year. Baby. Yeah.
Yeah, edging out Oiwa, my boy Bolton Oleg, and the women's wrestler Zones
with all caps. Now, if people are wondering, Yuma Anzai won last year, so he was not eligible this year.
Yeah, it used to be called the rookie, but they changed it to newcomer, and they're very fast and loose with what they consider a rookie, so it gets a little wacky. But and then the women's award, Tam Nakano, I have no opinion because I don't fucking know. Was that a good pick? I have no idea.
Yeah, that's okay. I would kind of surprised Julia wasn't a little higher in that one. She didn't get any votes apparently, so I don't know if that's some weird political thing that I don't know about. But yeah, Tam Nakano's she's a fine pick.
They're gonna go Stardom here and not Tokyo Joshi Pro though, right? Like
that, and that's why I said Julia would be one that I would pick from. But I guess Tam Nakano's a fine pick. It's fine. But yeah, similar to New Japan versus Noah and Dragon Gate and that sort of stuff, it's going to go to a Stardom person first and foremost. So, and it did.
Yeah. Fujita Junior Hayato showed up a couple times. Got a couple votes for best match with Hiromu on that Michinoku Pro show. And didn't he get votes? He got votes for technique. Didn't he return from another cancer or something? He's had a lot of health problems. So, he did get some support in these awards, which was a little bit surprising, and that's a good thing. The other thing I thought was funny was Sho finished second for Technique Award, and it's like, what is it? The technique of swinging a wrench? Like, what are we fucking doing here?
Of covering the referee up while Dick Togo grabs a garrote wire. I guess that's a technique. I mean,
he
almost won. He almost beat Yuma Aoyagi.
I know.
A couple votes away.
Look, Aoyagi was going to win something.
Yes.
That's how these awards go. And again, we told you Jake Lee stunk all year. We told you Aoyagi was good. Who won the fucking award? You know what I mean? Like, maybe listen to us sometimes. Anyway, somehow I make it about me again. But and then I guess our last thing is the New Japan World Tag League Finals. Look, they didn't do many angles at all on the show. I watched this whole fucking show bored out of my fucking skull because it was not a good show.
No, it was not.
The main event, listen, I don't need 40 minutes of Bishamon versus Phantasmo and Hikuleo. I just don't. This was egregiously long, dull as dishwater.
Long for the sake of being long too. You know what I mean? Like
this
it felt like
this is a 2-star match. I mean,
okay, I'm glad. That was kind of my hot take too. I think a lot of people really, really like this, and I like the semifinal matches pretty decently enough. This final though, I heard people be like, "Oh, one of the best World Tag League matches ever," and I'm like, maybe.
Not to me.
I mean, maybe they're all really, really bad. I don't remember all the world. I don't recall World Tag League finals that much. I thought I was bored out of my mind during this. So
yeah, me too. I was extremely bored. It's an 8.25 on Cage Match. Hikuleo is instant go away heat for me.
I'm becoming. I think he's actually getting better. I thought he's gotten a lot better.
I don't want to watch him. His gear stinks. He stinks. I've had enough of him.
I've become a believer. So I'm actually the opposite of you these days. But that's fine.
I don't understand why this couldn't be a neat and tidy 22 minutes. Get in, get out. Give me hot action. This did not need to be 40 minutes. This was ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. After you make me sit through a show where there's just nothing happening for 3 hours. I mean, the rest of the show was fine. You don't give me any angles. All right. So they jumped Ishii. Right? Not House of Torture. United Empire. Right? They jump Ishii. And then later on we get Shota Minu running in there to go after Ren Narita with the House of Torture stuff. But those weren't really angles. That was just guys getting after it. And then Tanahashi and Okada versus Gates of Agony was a nice cool little 3-star match, giving Gates of Agony a chance to wrestle two legends. It's a nice little hat tip to those guys for working hard on the tour. I get it. But you can't make me sit through 3 hours of a nothing show where you're not even giving me any angles. You're not doing anything interesting. And then you give me a 40-minute main event with these two teams that you could have done the same match in 20 minutes. I don't know. It annoyed me. This match annoyed me. I wouldn't make my worst enemy sit through this fucking match.
It was long for the sake of long. Long for the sake of long.
Yeah. So I didn't like it. I didn't hate it necessarily, but what are we getting corrected on zones here?
Yes.
Her name is Zonasu.
You know what, Joe? I don't care. I really don't care what Zone's name is supposed to be. Who fucking cares?
We'll probably never talk about Zonasu again,
yes.
I guess. But is this like the High 69 thing?
Yeah, and I'm gonna keep calling him High 69, and everybody can tell me it's Hiroki, and then it's gonna make me just call him High 69 more and more and more. So,
well, we didn't find out for like 7 years that it was Hiroki, right? And then I don't know, but anyway, so that was the World Tag League. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of it. Look, apparently some other people were. So if you're a big time Hikuleo fan or you're really into Bishamon and you want to see them wrestle for 40 minutes, knock yourself out. There was nothing wrong with the work.
It was long for the sake of long. When they did the ding 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 20-minute call, I was like, oh god damn it. I was like, we're going long. I feel like here.
Hikuleo set up that table on the outside, they didn't do the spot until like a half hour later.
I know, it was so long after. Yeah. Unnecessary.
Now, look, it could also be that I watched about 9 wrestling shows this week, and this was the last one I watched.
No. It was boring as fuck. And a lot of New Japan this year has been boring as fuck. So it's not. No, that's not you. Maybe it's an us thing. Yeah. Maybe it's a me thing too. But I am not enthused by a lot of New Japan stuff that I watch, and this show did not help. There was a lot of the World Tag League I enjoyed. This one did not enjoy this final at all. Really boring. But there you go. Get ready for the
show, Rich.
Get ready for Wrestle Kingdom. All right, that is it for us. We have gone way, way, way over time here. We will be back next week. Of course, as we mentioned at the top of the show, we'll have to find a different day because the Rams are playing on a Thursday, so maybe we have to do it on a Wednesday or Friday. We'll figure it out which day. But that'll be next week. VoicesOfWrestling.com for previews, reviews, columns of all the stuff we talked about. Voice of Wrestling Podcast Network, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and FlagshipPatreon.com, of course, to subscribe to our Patreon and get bonus audio and written content as well. So that is it for us. So that is Joe. I'm Rich. We will talk to you next time on the Flagship Podcast. Take care.
Hello, everyone. My name is Taylor.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are the co-hosts of Jumping Bomb Audio, the podcast all about Joshi Pro Wrestling here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. Every other Monday, we are with you talking about the biggest news in Joshi, along with show reviews, previews, and much, much more.
So if you're new to Joshi or you've been a longtime fan, this is the show for you. We've got something for everyone here. So check us out, Jumping Bomb Audio.